Josh Benson.
Nate Ruffin. Can I call you Nate or is it Nathan?
It is Nathan, but I really like, I feel like we really vibe together, so you can call me Nate.
Okay, can I take it a step further and go Nate Dog?
So that is what my neighbor called me growing up. He still does, yeah.
Okay.
So
what about even in the like Puff Daddy? What if we went Rough Daddy? Can I go Rough Daddy, or is that too?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a ridiculous human being. I don't know if you've been to my Instagram, but like I just bought a 17,000-pound army truck, and I've been daily driving it. Like I am, so like honestly, my realtor, I pulled up to closing in like a diesel 17,000-pound 55-inch tire, and he was like, I feel like this is something who's the guy with the gold tank, the old rapper with the gold tank?
Oh gosh. Oh my gosh, who is it?
Yeah, Master P. He's like, I feel like this is a real Master P move right now.
Yeah. Just kind of flex on everybody, like, yeah, I'll pay cash for the house, like whatever you need.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, the best part, he's like talking to my neighbor, my new neighbor. And he's like, yeah, he's like a internet entrepreneur, and like, he's just a tech guy, just a, whatever. He's like, I guess framing me. He's like just a business guy, he's very mature. And then he's like, we hear like a semi truck in the distance. And then out comes this. And then my friend's following me in his McLaren. So that even like is even way worse.
You know what you should do? So keep it obscure. Every time they ask you, like, what do you do? Just be like sales or like tech.
That is what I do.
I know, but like make them think you're in the mob. Like make them kind of have that healthy level of fear.
I lived in Mexico City for a little bit.
Okay.
And I would always be like, what were you doing in Mexico? It's like, it's just a good place to be.
Business. And then kind of wink at them. And they're like, why'd you wink? Like,
yeah, I've been doing some poker tournaments down there. I just always like to give weird, I'm like, so I want to do full-time ministry, and so I've been doing poker tournaments to fund that. I love giving that answer, especially if it's a Southern Baptist person.
They're like,
well, cool. I don't know.
But you can take it a step further. Well, the Lord just really blessed me. I kept winning, so thank God that I'm good at poker,
Yeah.
And then you're like, I donated all my winnings to an orphanage. They're like, cool.
Yeah, it's like really. I remember. So there's a mega church. It's the Prestonwood.
Yeah,
here. It's Prestonwood of Nashville or Tennessee. It's called Brentwood Baptist. And their pastor was like, if somebody ever wins the lottery and tries to give us that money, we're not accepting it. Like, we don't believe in the lottery. And and everybody's like, we got a strong, powerful pastor, all this. And I was like, well, here's the deal. The chances that somebody at this church wins and then gives to the church are just so unlikely that it's not really a bold statement.
You're not really, stepping out.
And, he then goes on to be like, look, like the only people that play the lottery are poor people for the most part. And like, there's like, if you look at the data behind it, and like all it does is like cause like systematic, poverty. And so he was like, that's why I'm against it. Like people are like, oh, it funds schools. And it's like, yeah, but like on the back of like very poor people.
Yeah.
Now I am very libertarian, so I'm very like, do whatever the heck you want. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's why,
Want to play the lottery? Go ahead.
Yeah. Whatever. You want to do math? I mean, sure.
Sure. As long as it doesn't really.
I mean, like, I just think it's like odd that like pharmaceutical companies can sell things that if you take a bunch of it, you die. Mm-hmm. So like if my neighbor wants to be an entrepreneur and sell things that if you take a lot of it, you die, go right ahead. I mean, I think that's the American dream.
I mean, me and my buddy were literally talking about that today. I made sure I knew I was coming on this podcast, so I was like, I need to find my most intellectual friend and talk with him this morning so that I can have my, my conversations. And we literally talked about that. It's kind of like, it's the American dream's kind of weird, like capitalism, but it's not a free market. It's kind of propped up, by the government. It's very unique, but
it's very like, depending on what industry you're in, it's a free market.
Yeah.
Or depending on who your dad is, it's a free market. Like there's a lot of just weird.
Who your dad is. Yeah.
Weird things. Okay. So you're a TikTok influencer. It's just even funny to say.
That's hilarious. Yeah. It's so weird.
Can you imagine how mad your grandfather would be? How is he still around?
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So my grandfather, my parents are older. My grandfather would be like 101 right now. So that's why I'm like, so I don't know ages. I'm 27. Are you?
I'm 26.
Okay. So about the same age.
Yeah.
So my grandfather, a World War II vet, maybe yours too. If I told him I was a TikTok influencer, he'd be like, I messed up.
No, that was the consensus early on is like last Christmas for say, you know, we're kind of hanging out and it's like, you do what? And I'm like, well, I work, but like on the side, I make these videos and like I'd show them and they don't get it.
Yeah.
Like they don't understand.
Yeah. I don't,
like,
what's funny about this? Yeah.
they're like looking at my parents, like what's wrong with them, you know? But now that there's kind of been like a monetary aspect incorporated, they're like, oh, you're making money off of it. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, okay, that is kind of cool now. You know, tell us more. So
that is kind of same thing for my dad. He just kind of always, like any idea I had for a business, he's like, well, I won't work.
Won't work.
And then like the second I raised like a bunch of money from my company Rabbit, and we did like enormous launch, my dad was like, that's my son. That's him.
Told him the whole time. I was right there with him.
Yeah.
You're like,
and I was like, my friends was like, hey, your dad seems really proud of you. I thought you said he's never proud of you. I was like, yeah, I experienced this for the first time tonight.
Yeah.
Like, I want you to know this is a very first time thing I've seen.
yeah.
How did you get started? How quickly before you got viral? Because that's really the case. Like once you have the audience.
Nuts. Okay, so I picked it up. There were my 2 COVID habits. I told you, golf and then TikTok. I was like so bored. We're just sitting around. And this was when I was still in East Texas. So there was nothing going on.
So you quarantined.
Yeah, we like quarantined. It was me and a couple of buddies. We lived together, which East Texas rent when you live with people was amazing. It was like $350 a month. Yeah. Amazing. But we're sitting there and I downloaded TikTok and I'm like, oh, this is kind of funny. My first TikToks were just me videoing a slice of bread and putting it in very suggestive situations sexually. Like I would put a little bathrobe on a piece of bread and like have a bottle of wine with it. And I would play, what's the saxophone? Kenny G,
I know,
every time. And then, so I do like to make rap music. It's okay. It's not very good, but I made a rap and I was like, I should put this on TikTok. So I finally put the face on TikTok. I took the bread off and I was like, this is kind of fun. And then when I did the first manipulative Christian guy, which I was just making fun of my buddy from college. Like it was literally his beanie. Like I'm just making fun of him. And that blew up and I was like, oh my gosh, like we have something here.
Yeah, because everybody relates to it.
Everybody. And then I was like, maybe it's one-off, did it again. Numbers. Yeah. Which numbers, comparatively speaking, I had like 5,000 followers at the time and it was like 100K views, 200K views. And I'm like, wow, people relate to this. And that's kind of how it took off is like and then people started giving it a life of its own. I didn't come up with the name John Michael or a lot of the video ideas is just people commenting and then they're like, oh, well, John Michael might do this next. I'm like, I guess he can. You know, thanks for the idea. And then it just life of its own took off and here we are.
So I worked in college ministry. I didn't go to college. I worked in college ministry for a little bit. That is, I was not paid. You know, like I have a job building businesses, and that's why I wasn't liked because I was like, I will never be one of you people. Like I was just always like, look, I'm gonna drive my M6, but still, like you know, like I'm not driving a Camry. Okay, I'm sorry. I know Dave Ramsey is around and whatever, but this might be controversial. I hate Dave Ramsey so much. So I live in Nashville. Okay. Therefore, I know 800 employees at his company, and I've had the pleasure of attending 2 churches with him. Somehow, when I leave a church, he decides to come to my church for the second time. Yeah. But the first time I ever met him, I was like, so I have this weird story. I made I hit 7 figures for the first time when I was 21. And so when you make that, like when your company makes that kind of money, and you're 21. And you came from nothing, and like you do a lot of really dumb things. You think of yourself very highly, which is why I almost went bankrupt about 6 months after that. So, but I had like Dave Ramsey was at an event, and we were talking about something, and I was like, well, at least I didn't get like just rich off of church people, like strike like. Really hated me from there on out. And so
his principles are like they're horrible for like the average everyday American. It's just like if you have horrible practices with like credit card debt, maybe you need to go listen to Dave Ramsey. Maybe, but
I actually disagree. I think his stuff is amazing for a certain demographic of people.
Very certain.
Yeah.
Very, very certain.
And he's really like I'm always shocked at how dumb people are. And I guess he's not, because his principles really are for the dumbest.
They're very like basic.
Yeah.
You're just like, like everyone's doing that.
And, I have no perspective on anything because I'm an entrepreneur who hangs out with entrepreneurs. And I don't realize that like I'm like 1% that hangs out with the 1%. I don't mean financially, but like just those type of people, like unique people. Like the other day, we signed a law firm, and this guy is a huge fan of this one NFL player who's one of my friends. So I just call this guy, and I'm like, hey, can you give this guy a call and like make his day? Which he walked around the whole law firm playing the voicemail this guy left.
Wait, that's so sick.
And I'm like, I know at least 50 NFL players. And to me, it's like, yeah, everybody's an NFL player. That's not a big deal. And then I step back and I see somebody at like Buc-ee's wearing like a jersey. And I'm like, this guy probably knows no players. And if he met one, would freak out. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, oh, that's actually probably the vast majority of everyone.
Yeah.
So that's like, I think, I'm like, these principles are stupid. But then I also am not around like the everyday person that makes $30,000 a year and, rats up credit card debt, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess it has its place, but it's very frustrating when someone that has the financial capabilities still thinks they need to incorporate Dave Ramsey's strategy. I'm like, no, you need to invest. You need to like probably rack up some like debt in investments. Like, and they're like, no, I need to pay cash for this car. And I'm like, no, you don't.
And it's like so, man, it's so easy to do. It's so easy to breed a scarcity mindset.
Oh yeah.
And I even found myself, okay, we just bought a home. And I'm like, okay, I could just put down $10,000 a month, and just pay this puppy off in like 7 years. Something like that. And then I was like, well, but then I wouldn't be able to write off the interest on the home.
Yeah.
And then there's 10, like, I guess my mortgage is like $4,200. So there's $6,000 a month that I could be putting into literally anything that will make me money. Mm-hmm. And I do very well in crypto, and I've done very well. Like, I have a bunch of other things I invest in. Yeah. And I'm like, why would I do this? Oh, I would do this because I looked at the number of the loan amount for so long that it scared me. But it's not like, it's, so you just think of these dumb like things, and I don't know. There's my best friend works for Dave Ramsey, and he's like, it's not that he's like a really smart guy, which is, I know, even more shocking, right? Yeah. It's very interesting. But to finish my story, so I say this comment about like, hey, like, at least I didn't get rich off of church people, and he's like, that's not how I got rich. And I go, well, how many thousands of churches sell financial peace? Like,
like my parents did financial peace.
Yeah.
Growing up, a buddy of mine's getting married, and they're doing like counseling, marriage counseling, but then he's like, and we're going to do financial peace together. And when he said that, dude, I wanted to just
punch him in the face. Yeah.
Like, why? But
like, well, you're my best friend and you're this dumb. Like, that's,
it's like, it's literally the way he said it made it sound like it's literally like, duh, I'm doing financial peace just like I'm doing marriage counseling. It's like, no, like the two are not at the same level of necessity. Like, you need to do marriage counseling.
So anyway, I said this, and I'm like, well, I mean, you have like tens of thousands of churches that pay you. And he was like, you don't, like, you're a little kid, you don't know, like, just like, he talks just like how you think, like, you're just a little kid, you don't know, like, he talks just how you would think he would if he's being attached, right? Like, so anyway, that's my one interaction, little kid Nathan, whatever. So here we are, 5 years later, new church, sit at a row, look over, and I'm sitting next to his wife, who then next to her is him. And I'm like talking to her, and I'm like joking around, and like, just talking. Mm-hmm. And he is stone faced straight ahead. And I was like, maybe he just doesn't want to make a scene, doesn't want people to like, whatever. But I also have this slight feeling that he might remember me.
He just might. I thank you for that. You have no idea. Because me and a buddy of mine specifically wanted somebody to kind of stand up to Dave Ramsey like that. So you have full circle completed that for us.
Well, I think like you look at the lady who started a cult on workout stuff, the way down lady that was that had the crazy hair. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I have no idea.
Gwen something. Okay, way down workout, Brentwood, Tennessee.
There's a lot going on in Brentwood. A lot.
Yeah. There's an HBO documentary on this chick. By
the
way.
No way.
Yeah, and you'll want to.
So
watch
it's like big time. Yeah.
I mean, it's very normal, right?
Oh my gosh, I've seen that lady. Yes, yeah,
just completely normal.
She's Brentwood.
So, this documentary like explains where she got her money and how it all happened or whatever. So she writes this book like Way Down Workout or whatever, and like Way Down Ministries is of course her ministry name. Of course. We have to got to name after the Financial Peace Ministries, right? So you got to name it after that. And her hair is kind of crazy then, but it's obviously as like all sin just kind of gets worse and worse and worse. Because her hair is sin. Let's just be honest.
It's a sin. I think that's in the Bible somewhere.
Yeah. It's a different translation. You probably read, you're probably an HSCB guy.
No, I know you guys in Brentwood. You have your own translation. I know.
Yeah. So stop. I'm not a Brentwood guy. Okay.
Wait. So you're moving back. But you're
to
not
Nashville.
But you're not a Brentwood guy.
Okay, so here's the deal. I grew up in Nashville.
Okay.
you've kind of caught me here. I'm from Nashville, grew up in Nashville, and then when I moved out, I lived like downtown Nashville. And then recently I did just buy a house in a place outside of Nashville.
Okay.
Possibly named Brentwood.
But we don't have to say that. We don't have to say that.
No, I actually bought a house in Nolensville, which is on the Brentwood line.
Oh, perfect. So just say allegedly,
Yeah.
like if someone allegedly I'm in Brentwood, but
yeah,
we'll see.
No, so anyway, how she got rich and everything is that she had 14,000 churches paying a monthly fee to like rep her like workout program.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, there she is.
Oh, there she
Boom.
is.
I mean, what a babe. And you're cut into that monitor.
What a babe.
What a sweet woman.
What a sweet woman. Literally the South way to like critique anyone. You just say like bless her heart. Bless her heart.
Yeah. Bless her heart. So anyway, I think he kind of had a similar model. And I think look, any guru goes a little too far in on their stuff. And if I had to pick, like, who do I want to be like, Grant Cardone or Dave Ramsey? I'd pick Dave Ramsey. Now, maybe that's because I just really don't like Grant Cardone. Yeah. But keep in mind, that's kind of like a worst case scenario. They're like, yeah, you got to be one of these people for the rest of your life. I'd be like,
that is tough.
Yeah,
you're giving yourself two pretty bad options.
Yeah.
There.
I'm like, I guess because I want to go, like, Grant is a Scientologist. So if I had to choose between like knowing, like, saying I know and love Jesus versus actively being a Scientologist, even how annoying you are, I'm always going to choose the.
Of course, yeah, no, literally.
I'm not trying to. The Scientologist is like, it's just what kind of La La Land. I have this. I tell everyone he's a Scientologist because he's a real estate guy and he knows they own a bunch of real estate. Like if there's one salesman out there in the world that would join a religion to get to their real estate, it's Grant Cardone.
Yeah, I mean, but honestly, like. I guess looking at it, it's like, especially because Scientology, it's so off the wall, right? It's like, you can't fault the guy. It's like he saw the chance to get a bag and he went and got it.
I don't know. I don't think he's gotten the bag yet. I think he's still given the bag. He still talks about how great Scientology. He's like, oh yeah, we had a going clear session or whatever, like a whatever, yeah, that session. I heard it. He's like, yeah, my daughter just got back from one. I'm like, oh, this is awful.
Like, oh, this sounds horrible. Yeah. Like anyone on the outside's like, oh my god, you sure?
Yeah, and he's like, Grant Cardone, baby, let's go. You just got to do everything with baby if you want to be Grant Cardone.
Baby?
Yeah. Baby. Yeah. Okay, so you start TikTok, you start making fun of Christians.
Yeah. Whoops. And I am a Christian. A Christian. I'm still stuck on Grant Cardone. I am a Christian, but yeah, I just had to put that disclaimer in.
So back to what I was getting to. There's a lot of rabbit holes on this. I can tell this could be a nice 9-hour podcast we're doing.
Only 9.
So I was a part of a ministry, and there's so many funny things you see. Mm-hmm. Like there's so much, and then you realize that oh my goodness, this isn't like a my church thing. This is like most churches. So let's just start with a few. I'm going to give one. You're going to give one. We're going to play this game.
Okay, cool.
Australians that are pastors.
Oh.
In Nashville, they're everywhere.
Australians?
That are pastors.
I don't like it.
So there's Church of the City.
Yeah.
Church of the City, East Nashville. The Belonging Co. Like every modern church in Nashville is led by an Australian pastor.
Is it because like Hillsong's in Australia and they just they think, okay, Nashville needs a guy, and they know they can just come out here.
So there's like these weird trends that you see. That's like that's kind of odd.
That's
there's
strange.
15 Australian pastors in a city that has like 50 megachurches or has 30 megachurches, and 15 of them are led by Australian pastors.
That's unique.
Darren Whitehead is I go to Church of the City, so I actually have an Australian pastor.
I will say this though, if I had an Australian guy,
so easy not to pay. You pay attention more.
Pay attention way more.
Yeah,
because I can he'll say like rise up lights. I'm like, that's sick. Yeah, that's cool. I'm locked in.
The story of the gospel. The way they say gospel is really great. I don't know if you've ever noticed that.
I mean, I'd be locked in because I'm so used to the Southern Baptist like. Church. Yeah, here we are today, and you're just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, and y'all, y'all stand for the reading of God's word.
Hey, y'all, literally, everybody rise up. And like, oh my God. And then they twist the scripture up. But yeah.
So the thing about ministries is there's always the discipleship pastor, that church Chad. I don't know what you probably have a character. You probably have a name for the character.
Yes.
But who's the guy that really sets up to the discipleship pastor?
So I like to think of John Michael as the guy that's like hitting on every girl in the church. I'm gonna go with I've been using Josiah or Jebediah is too like Amish, so we're gonna nix that. I'm gonna say Josiah really kisses up to the pastor. Like, look at how many chairs I laid out today. You know, my volunteering's been going great.
Or what ours was like, all right, guys, who memorized scripture this week? Which is also a great habit.
It's a good habit, yeah.
Where you like force everyone in your study to memorize scripture. Really makes people love God.
Yeah.
Just sitting there rolling my eyes like, what? And then he's the first guy. I memorized mine.
I memorized the whole Bible. And it was like from front to back. Like shooting glances at the pastor, like the whole Bible.
So this thing happened at tell me if you've ever seen this. All the guys that were discipled by the discipleship pastor, I mean, and not just discipled, but really bought into this guy, married all the women that his wife discipled on this end. I mean, we're talking 7 marriages.
No surprise. No surprise at all.
And I just had to sit there and be like, okay, did God tell you to marry that person, or did your mentor that you would die to be like tell you? No, and that's why I was no longer involved in the ministry.
Yo, it's like such a thing. Dating in the church is such a because I've heard pastors that are very much like, yeah, get married. Like it's just such a casual, yeah, you should just go ahead and marry her. It's like, what? Like I remember in college, and I was very much in tune with like a great ministry, right? Like awesome spot to be. But I was dating a girl for like 3 months. Like had known her for 3 months, and we just kind of dated pretty quick. So it's like 3 months in, and everyone's like, so like, you're going to marry her?
Now,
I'm like, dude.
I do that after about 3 weeks with all my friends because I like to be that guy.
You like to be
not because
guy.
I'm being serious.
See, they were doing it unironically. They're like, so like, what are your intentions?
Yeah.
You know, like, bro, I just learned her middle name. Like I'm trying to get it figured out, you know?
And then my favorite is, I'm not talking shit about ministries, but most of the time, the most attractive women don't find themselves working in the ministry. And, you know, occasionally a dime walks in, a very attractive woman walks in, and every guy immediately is like, I know which girl I'm going to ask out.
No, it's like because everyone's already like wifed up, the niche is very much so like single woman comes in and every guy's all of a sudden, I just think the Lord's leading me to, marry you. And then 6 other guys are like, yeah, she's hot, so I'll say the same thing. Yeah. And then God's just telling a bunch of people to marry this one woman. Yeah. It's like, you sure?
Because there were like, I've been a part of ministries where there's been, a lot of women out of college, unmarried, not my type or any other guys in the group's type. And then one girl, like 1 month out of college, comes and like, hey, just moved back to Nashville, graduated from the University of Alabama, like 5'10".
Of course she's from Alabama.
Yeah, like blonde hair that's super long. Yep. And she's like dressed to the nines. And she's like, just looking forward to getting to know everyone. And immediately
John Michael's like, I'm really looking forward to getting to know you too.
Immediately it's like, all right, who's going to ask her out to coffee?
It has to be coffee. It can't be anything secular. It has to be that coffee shop.
Here's my thing. I genuinely like meeting new people, and I didn't grow up in the church, so I didn't know that you weren't supposed to grab coffee with everybody. So I would grab coffee with every guy and every woman. And so then I found out that I had intentions to date every woman in our ministry.
You were stirring the pot, yeah.
Yeah. I was not trying to date anybody in our ministry.
You're just like hanging out.
Yeah, and so I found myself just continuing, and there's one mistake I made. I always buy people's drinks. If it's guys or girls, I just like to be, it's like my way of like being nice. So it's like, hey, do you want a coffee sometime? Sure. And then it's like I buy,
Especially
I buy their $3.
If you initiate the invitation, it's like, I'll buy for you.
And I buy, so what I found out is I'd gone on a date with 12 women in our ministry.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Rough daddy coming out there. Yeah, I see you.
Which is real crazy because it was like, this was not my intention.
Yeah. I love that word too. That's such a church. What are your intentions, Nathan?
Yeah, because it was like, hey, I heard you were, grabbing coffee with Sarah Beth, and it's like,
Sarah Beth.
Yeah, I just like to meet everybody new, and they're like, well, you also got coffee with Brittany, and I'm like, yeah, I would never date her, you know that, right? Like I just, I'm like, well, you asked her to coffee and you paid, and I was like, well, the fact that I paid means that like. Clearly, people are talking. Yeah, that's another thing. It's like gossip is only bad if it's outside of the church. Like in the church, it's it's the game.
Crazy. It's so crazy. Like it's so rampant, and it's like it'll be gossip about something that's not even like it's like minuscule, but then at the same time, and they're like trying to call out sin, right? Like, oh, I'm just trying to, and it's like
trying to hold you accountable.
You're not like calling anything out. You're just talking behind their back.
Here's a hilarious story. One day I pulled up something on Google and I pulled up my phone and Minister goes, hey, not a big deal. I just noticed that you're on private browsing on your phone, which normally means you've been looking at things you're not supposed to. You want to be able to get out of it. And I go, I build websites. And when we updated a website, we had to clear the cache. So instead of me having to like clear the cache and cookies every time, I operate in private browsing mode. So when I reload the website, it shows it fresh. And what is wrong with you?
Yeah. Let me put you, hey, buddy, Nathan couldn't help but notice. You're like, oh, God, where is this going? Same thing. I posted my Spotify Wrapped yesterday. And I love rap music. So it was like Drake, J. Cole, been on Jack Harlow lately. No worship music.
So I have one rapper, Young Dolph, and he just got murdered. So I'm going through I've been listening to a lot of.
I'm so sorry.
The worst.
That's tough. Young Dolph line that always sticks with me, especially in the spirit of this conversation. What is it? Sold 100 pounds, gave 10% to the pastor. The Young Dolph line.
I think my favorite line, and he's like, people hate me so much, I'm going to start calling myself Donald Trump or something. Like it's like this great line about like, they hate me so much, you would think I'm Donald Trump. And it's like, oh, that's a solid one.
Dolph it still gets me in like the zone of like, I'm about to hit the weight room. It's just
so I live in hype world. Like I could have trance music running all the time because I just live at 100.
Yeah.
Which is why like some days I just don't wake up.
Your body's like, we can't do today. Yeah. Just bring it back
because I just live at full hype.
Yeah.
All right, continue.
Wait, what was I?
You're talking about music, so you had no Christian music.
Oh yeah, no Christian music, and and I don't know. I guess there's some merit to like, yeah, you probably should be listening to some like worship music or spending time with the Lord.
Chris McClarney knew who he is.
Chris McClarney?
Yeah, super good. I would look into him.
Really? Okay, I look into Chris McClarney, but it's like some worship music is very. We're gonna play the bridge, and then there's another bridge, and it's just gonna sing the same bridge, and you're like, I don't know if I have 20 minutes to dedicate to this Maverick City song, which I love Maverick City. Don't get me wrong, but people are like in my DMs like, no worship music. Where's the Christian music? Can't believe that you're infecting your body with this secular,
infecting my body. I love that one.
And it's kind of like this. It just isn't just music. It's also like alcohol, like a bunch of things. It's like I personally can't handle it, but I'm going to go ahead and project that onto you as like now that's like the new standard. Like if I like struggled with alcohol, right, and then I see you drinking, but you don't struggle with alcohol, Nathan. So as a Christian, it should be like in my mind to be like, okay, like Scripture does allow for this, like maybe I shouldn't handle, like I can't handle it, maybe he can't have it, whatever. But then it's all of a sudden, these are my personal convictions, Nathan, so I'm going to throw them completely on you now, okay? Buddy, I saw you drink a Michelob, a Michelob Ultra, I'm going to be praying for you, and you're just like,
yeah, this discipleship pastor did anything to like I called him out on all his BS like ahead of time. And he like one day told me, he was like, you won't submit to authority, and that is why you won't listen to me.
I've heard that one before.
Yeah. And I was like, that is the best answer ever. I was like, that is such a good move, that anytime somebody disagrees with you and calls you out, instead of debating them on what they disagree with you, just be like, well, you're not submitting to your elders.
Yeah.
I was like, Well done. What a comeback.
It's like, heaven forbid you give me something I can trust and submit to. Which
So
is the
I
I
had this beef. I left. I was still around in the church, talked a lot of shit about him. And somebody's like, hey, you really shouldn't, like, you should just tell him to his face. So I was like, you know what? I should do that. So I invite him out to lunch. We sit down. And he's like, you know, the gentle pastor voice. It's like, Nathan, why do you want to have lunch today?
Hey, buddy. It's me, Pastor Mark, buddy.
And so I was like, I can't stand you. I think you're manipulating. Like, I just went on and on and on. And I took you to lunch so I could tell you this to your face. So it's not gossip. So it's not behind your back. And he was like, I'm so sorry. I never knew. That I can't believe. I'm like, I really could care less what any of your response is. Yeah. Everybody told me I should tell you your face, so I am. Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's respectable, right? Yeah. It's like the other guy's scene whenever Mark Wahlberg walks out of the office. Like, I was just
about to do, Oh, I'm really glad you did it. Well, I'm about to say it to your face. Yeah, so you find yourself in the ocean, I'm guessing off the coast of South Africa, a full 500-pound grown tuna. It's the best.
And now we've had a taste for lion. I love that. That's one of my
I've only
movies.
seen 25 movies in my life. I don't watch movies.
Yeah.
So the ones I have seen, I know really, really well.
Okay,
like
so
the other guys.
Is Other Guys number one on the 25 movies you've seen?
Definitely. I mean, the favorite movies The Pursuit of Happiness is my favorite movie. You know, it's just it's the American dream right there. Is that like, you can be anyone at any time and you can go just take off.
Plus it's Will Smith.
Yeah.
Dude, I love Will Smith.
Do you know the finance TikTok guy with long hair?
With the long hair?
Yeah. Drives a Tesla. All his videos are like, last year I lived in an apartment with 3 friends and now I drive this.
Oh, is he the one that kind of traded up throughout everything? Yeah, I've seen him.
Anyway, I met him at a conference recently.
No way.
And I was like, I'm hating all his TikToks. And then he got up there and was like, yeah, I'm making like $500,000 a month via this. And I was like, now I respect you.
I get it. No, I'm on Austin Hankowitz, I think it is. Have you seen his?
Probably. I don't know.
Dude, he's good. He just kind of posts like graphs and like rationale behind what he buys, but he's legit. I like him too.
All right. So you're posting TikToks. It's a lot of work to continuously come up with ideas and content. Are you planning this weeks in advance? Like, kind of take me through, is there like a natural process? Because posting a funny video twice is one thing. Doing it like 100 times is really difficult. I don't think a lot of people understand that. Like, Gary Vee says go create content. I'm just going to go create content. And it's like, well, what are you creating content about? It's just my life. We're just going to document things. Like, we don't do anything cool. And it's
tough. Yeah.
Thankfully, I have a 3-hour podcast, so I can take I have a lot of stuff I can pull from in 3 hours.
You've got content galore.
But I'm not able just to sit. You have to sit there and plan. Just take me through that process.
Yeah. So I work. I'm like 9 to 5. So complete opposite of what you do, right? Like I'm just kind of corporate America grinding it out. But my work doesn't allow for a ton of creativity within it. And so I find myself, because I feel like I'm a creative
You're
guy.
in the financial space. I'll just go ahead and call that out, right?
I'm in the financial space. So not a lot
no
of creativity. If you can imagine that, right? And so I'll find myself kind of thinking of things and I feel very hindered. And so I'm like, man, I just need to create something. I need to do something funny. And so it's kind of a mixture of that. And then seeing quite literally real life examples on Twitter, Insta, TikTok of like cringy Christians doing things for real. Like they're serious. And it's all like, yeah, we can kind of make fun of that. And so it's kind of a mixture of the two real life examples. Try to plan it out, right? Like a week in advance maybe, but that's the process. It's just literally, I don't feel creative at work. When's my break? All right, let's knock out some TikToks on break.
Got it. I just thought of something hilarious.
I could see it on your face.
Yeah. And right in that moment. All right. So I early on decided all right, never going to date somebody at church I go to. This, I can see all the roads this goes to, never going to happen.
Outsourced to the other churches. Absolutely.
yeah, exactly. Wednesday nights I go here, Sundays here, no problem. I can always cut off Wednesday. So of course I get on Tinder. Now I had been on Tinder from literally the second came out. I tell people when I got on, there's a 100-mile radius. I swiped through 7 people and I ran out of people. Wow. And so I remember going out with a supermodel essentially and being there's no way I could pull that. So I was just kind of how did this? And she was like, yeah, I got it yesterday, and you're the first person I matched with, and I enjoyed our conversation, and I just haven't been on since. And I was thinking to myself, just don't go back on.
Yeah. Just
I'm probably the best you're gonna get.
you're like, hey, I tell you what, you know what we should do? Just delete our Tinder right now.
Yeah.
What do you say?
I'll do it too.
I'll do it. Yeah.
And what you realize is supply and demand.
Dude,
and so
real.
There was a period when there was only 20 people on there, and I work in marketing, so I know how to write a bio.
Yep.
I have professional photos because I own a marketing agency. Like I know that like no woman, like if they think, okay, I don't, of course nobody's on there to hook up. Like I know that's everybody's thing, but I don't think that's the vast majority of people who are on there to do that.
Right.
But so like, okay, I get on here. Obviously, like any guy that says anything gross or starts, you don't want, even if you're there to hook up, you don't want a guy that starts that way. Like, like, because most people that are like slutty are like hidden sluts. We're like, at least like take me to breakfast first, right?
Yeah. Let's make it respectable. Then we'll show the intentions later. Absolutely.
And so, I would like just like, what do you do? Like these are like basic marketing. Like if somebody has a dog in their photo, you start the message with like
about their dog.
I'm gonna be honest. Like you're fine, but like I gotta meet your dog, right? Like that's you just everything about like, oh, I saw you were from Detroit. Like I'm glad you made it out alive. Like that's a real accomplishment.
Something kind of casual.
Nothing to ever do with like dating, specially sets or attractiveness or anything. And so anyway, I noticed this trend, and so I started, like I'd match with a girl, have a couple dates. Okay, do you want to come to this church thing with me? And then, so like I'm showing up to church with like very attractive women that aren't probably deeply involved in churches, and most of them were new to town or whatever.
Yeah,
like I'm on Tinder just to meet people. I love that line. It's like, how are you though?
Sure you are. Gotcha.
And one day, this lady in a ministry was like, Nathan, I just felt God telling me to share this with you, but I found the girl that you took to church, and I just found some inappropriate things on her Instagram, and I just thought, I know you're a good guy, and I know you wouldn't want that, so I just thought I would share that with you.
And you're like, oh.
And I was like, oh, okay. Cool. And then it happened again like 6 months later, different lady from church, and I had a much better response this time.
Yeah.
I was like, well, as you know, the Bible and God and no one can change someone's heart. So I really appreciate you sharing this with me.
Nice.
Mic drop. Jesus joke.
I love how, and also especially given the vast world of, I guess, sin and what we deal with, how the number one thing that we focus on in church is dating. It is dating. So like they could literally like, Nathan, I know that you struggle with this, or like you said this, but today I just want to talk about dating with you. I want to talk about the girls that you've been bringing around church. Like nothing else matters.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
But what it is, it's like nobody also thinks on the high level of like, okay, cool. Now he's going to leave this ministry, and then he's never going to bring a girl who doesn't know Jesus to a church because she feels judged when she comes. Like all these like awful things that like if we just take a moment to be serious, which no, we haven't had a lot of. Like it's like, man, like how many people are just completely turned off by their faith because they just feel like they could never belong in a place like this.
Oh, yeah. And it's kind of there's probably a lot to it. I was actually thinking about this on the way here. Crazy enough. Is like so as a Christian, if I was to look at someone that maybe they don't know the Lord, for me, number one priority is of course, like I want to share the gospel with them. Now, that could come at the risk of like friendship. That could come at the risk of them like,
what a good guy. See, my number one priority is like, what can I sell you? Yeah, it's like,
well, you're a salesman. You're a CEO. I'm not a CEO yet. But the thing is I think Christian specifically, it's kind of this like pat myself on the back, like I'm doing so good, and so we just look at it from our point of view. Whereas if you flip flop it, if it's someone that doesn't know the Lord, and it's like, their perspective is if they like would be willing to risk our friendship to like share the gospel with me, then it would probably turn them off to Christianity even more. And it's just kind of this whole, like, I think Christians kind of are very, look at how good I'm doing, but they're not taking a second. Like you said, like, what if I like looked at the opportunity cost? What if I'm looking at, would this actually even be beneficial to them? Or is this just so I shared the gospel today with someone on the subway?
And it's just, I remember I met a lady who had a boyfriend. Like this is not like dating anyway.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, you should come to church with me sometime. Like I just always would invite people to church. And so she's like, sure, I'll go. And so she goes, and it's like, I immediately feels like the judgment of everybody and like things. It's like, man, like she was turned off to church because of a bad experience, and then I took her to a place where she got more bad experiences, and it's like, I think I now have empathy for this because I was that guy. Like I was the guy that would judge people, and now I'm leading into a perfect segue that is so great that I planned ahead of time.
Okay,
by the way.
yeah.
So this all leads me to this. What was the reaction when you announced you were engaged to a TikTok influencer that has posted dance videos?
Oh my gosh.
Now my wife is a professional ballroom dancer, so
so you get it, yeah.
Well, she's not a TikTok dancer, so you know, I'm not going to say I get it. You know, she does real dance, but you know, it's okay.
Sydney, my fiance, she was a cheerleader at Baylor. So she's very much been
cheerleader.
Can you believe it?
Yeah.
I was not a quarterback. Oops, fumbled the bag.
You look like one though.
Oh, thank you. I did play rec league QB. Stats were pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, but
yeah, I mean, what's our percentage? Like, what are we throwing? Like out of 100 throws, how many are being caught?
99.
Okay, yeah,
maybe one bad pass.
Yeah.
You know, pick me up on your.
So you're saying that your wide receiver was really the amazing one if they never drop passes.
I mean, when you put it in the bucket, it's hard. No, yeah. So I dropped the ball on the quarterback into things, but she's very much so like her dancing is like she's definitely been like out in like classes and stuff, so she knows what's up. But yeah, it's very interesting that I have not gotten any kickback, right? But when she posts dance videos sometimes, why are you dancing to that kind of music? Or why are you dancing like this part of your butt? Like, why would you move your hips like that? And so like she comes under fire. I don't get any of it. They're just like, oh, y'all are so cute.
Yeah.
You know? Which is ridiculous in itself. Someone suggested to her one time, you should dance to worship music exclusively. And I remember she showed me that. We looked at each other and we like played, I don't remember what song it was. It was like, how could you dance to that? You know, like a little carousel. But it's just amazing. It's like, she comes under fire a lot for it.
Yeah. Anyway, congratulations on getting engaged.
Oh, thank you. Dude, I'm so excited.
When Hannah told me that she was like, hey, Josh can't make it this Saturday because he's getting engaged, I was like, oh, I'd love to run that for him. Like, I love having this kind of power. Like, I got to find this girl and just tell her right now. But I didn't do that. Yeah. But
thank you so much.
I did like having that power. That felt really, really cool. Like, oh man, I know
Thanos
this.
with the glove. You're like, oh man, I've got all the stones now.
Yeah. I hope he tries to cancel again.
No, yeah, I'm sorry. It was more important for me to propose before I came on the podcast.
No, that's so y'all met on TikTok.
We met on TikTok. So
slid into the DMs or on a comment.
It was. I saw her on a buddy of mine's. We had a mutual friend. I saw her on his Instagram story, like before we even really interacted. And I remember literally looking at her and being like, she is fine as hell. And then I was like, she would not give me the time of day. Didn't even try. I was like, whatever. Like, cool.
You gotta. It's one of those things. You knew that. Okay, if I got a shot at this, it's got to be in person.
Exactly. It
so that I can get her laughing. Once I get her laughing, I'll get her number. We'll go from there. Right. But if it's a DM, another guy DMing her Instagram, not gonna work.
What sets me apart? My Insta's like average at best. So I just whatever. Next thing I know, I'm posting TikToks, living life. She comments on one of them.
You're like, oh yes.
Wait a second, I know you. Then I see she follows me, so I'll follow her back. Nothing crazy, but then I had a good barber back in East Texas. Get a nice little fade, post a TikTok. Was it a little thirst trap? We'll leave that up to, I don't know, allegedly. But she comments on it and she just puts like the eye emojis. And I said, this time I could not have gone quicker to the DMs on Instagram. What's up? You know, I'm moving to Dallas. Would love to just hang out.
Dallas. Yeah, let it roll.
Hey, baby, listen here. She still makes fun of me for my accent. But yeah, told her I'm moving to Dallas. It was the day I had like my final background check and drug test with my job. So I'm like, look, you're going to see, I'm going to pass a background check, you know, not currently on any narcotics. Like, what could you find a better, guy to
now
go
in 3 weeks, I will be on narcotics again, but currently not.
So I was like, what better first date? And so she agreed to it. And dude, best first date I've ever been on, like by far. Just conversation flowed so well. Like she was so interactive. She caught me looking at her butt when we were leaving the coffee shop, which she said later that she loved because it showed I was kind of like physically attracted to her. I told her sorry. I was
Yeah,
like, oh.
you can't do that, man. I mean, that's now.
Shame on me.
Are you? So, did the church require y'all to break up because you did that? Right? Yeah, good move. Yeah, I would require as your minister. I would also do the same thing. You know,
We had
hey,
to
man,
go through pre-dating counseling so I could pursue her to the best of my abilities. So,
yeah. And you know, remember, it's not her own job to guard her heart. It's yours.
it's my job.
Yeah, that was everything that I was telling people. Like, look, I'm not guarding shit. Like, I'm doing what I want. It's there. It's a free country.
Let me guard
This
your
is why I
heart.
didn't do great in ministry. 'Cause, again, I don't know. Like, you know, Jesus juking is my favorite thing in the world.
Oh my God. Yeah.
But and that's really my biggest thing. What I learned from ministry was not to love God more. It was just to like Jesus juke really well.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue. So you on this first date? It's incredible.
It's incredible. Yeah. And a lot of the stuff that I feel like is very taboo in Christianity, had no issue talking about it. We lined up on a lot of things because that's important. It's like, okay, she's hot, but like intellectually, are we going to line up on a lot of things, like what our values are? And we did. And it was a no-brainer. And so then from that point on, it was really scheming. I need to lock her down. I know she's going to want to rock for an engagement ring. I started saving up like immediately. And here we are. She said yes.
I bought a 4.19 carat ring for my wife.
Dude, okay, let me tell you about the engagement ring process here. So first of all, Sydney, my fiance, great taste. Okay, and you can tell me if the same thing happened. So we're going to try on
I'm a designer. I
rings.
design everything. I designed her ring. I picked out the stone. I picked out the cut. Yeah, but continue.
You're a good husband. You're a good husband. I let Sydney kind of like, what do you want? What are you looking for? We'll go try some on. So we're looking.
Yeah, my money, my ring.
Yeah.
Know, but you're a better guy. It's cool.
I would say you're a better guy because you took the initiative, right? Girls love that. But we pull up and she knows what the budget is. And so we're looking at some
$900.
because I tied the rest of it. Yeah. And so we're looking at like some 2 carats, mid 2s, like 2.8, whatever. And she's like, yeah, I like these. I like the cut. So we find the cut. And then the diamond guy's like, well, I've got this one. And it was like a 3.2, which was out of budget. We knew that. It was out of budget. And he's like, I got this one. And he kind of grabs her hand and puts it on her hand a little bit. And I'm sitting there. I'm like, clenched teeth. I'm like,
F this guy.
damn it, he got me.
Yeah.
He got me. And then she looks at it and she goes, oh, that's my dream diamond. And I just remember it like, son of a. And I'm like, really? You sure? And so.
Like, all right.
I knew that was the
limit
one.
on this credit card. Is it 7 or 8 grand? Let me call
Literally
real
checked
quick.
my limits, went back with him next Monday. And he was like, well, she said this was her dream diamond. I'm like, you're right.
I want 15% off though. Did you negotiate price?
Not really.
Oh man, I'm
maybe
really
I should've.
disappointed.
I know.
You
They
realize
gave
the
me-
mock-ups are insane.
They gave me a topo when I walked in the door. I was just overwhelmed.
Oh, a $2 drink got you to pay full price.
It's
Nice.
a good trade-off, right? If you think about it. Topos are hard to come by. I'd say that's a $3 drink. So knock it down.
Oh, you don't think they bought it in bulk? You think they just bought it at a gas station one by one?
I mean, they probably got it at Whole Foods.
Okay.
But I probably should have negotiated, but
So you got a rock too. You got a big old diamond.
I got a 3.2, and
That's enormous.
so I feel like it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not. 4.
No, mine didn't. I didn't finish the story. This is yeah.
Okay. Well,
So
you know
I
it.
buy 4.19, and we're doing pretty good before COVID. Then COVID happens, and we go from like 100 employees to 0, and like a very we're like crazy stuff. I had a couple. We just at live events like Rabbit does.
Yeah.
So round of funding gets canceled. Just a bunch of crazy things happen. So my jeweler calls me back and he goes, "Hey, I can give you more money than you paid me for it because like the market, and I got somebody looking for this exact one or whatever." And I was like, "Take it." Mm-hmm. So then when we were fighting why we weren't engaged yet, because I told her I was going to get engaged to her, I was like, "Well, I sold your ring." Not a good move. Not a good move. Yeah. And she's like, "You did what?" I was like, "No, okay, yeah." And so anyway, the truth was I was already going to sell it because when it came in, it was like bigger than her finger. And I was like, it looks like a Barbie. It looks fake. It looks just ridiculous. Yeah. So we ended up going like 3.2, right around the same size as yours. So, but I designed it. And I am like a very stickler for design. Like
attention to detail.
Like, I designed this table, and like our new house we're redoing. I've designed everything about it, and my wife likes my style, which is good. Like
that helps out a lot. Yeah.
So I designed. I was like, I want the thinnest band you can possibly make. And I'd be like, yep, not thin enough, not thin enough. So we get this like rock thin. But the issue is when a band is super thin, if it's just a tiny bit loose, it's spinning. Because like there's not enough.
The rock, yeah, weighs it.
Well, no, there isn't like enough gripping to your finger because it's like there's nothing gripping. So her ring was just always upside down, just like hitting. So anyway, it looks really cool, but there are some impractical things that happen.
You have to get it. What's the word for it? Like the bottom has to get rounded off, and then it sticks to the finger a little better. I mean, look at the issue we're having. I got my fiance such a big diamond. Oh, my life is impossible.
So, when's the wedding?
Can you keep a secret?
No.
Okay. We're we're having like a wedding, like a get together, but we're probably gonna elope in Greece.
Nice.
Dude, I've never been to Greece. I've never even been to Europe.
Well, yeah. I mean, what's a little country boy from East Texas doing in Europe? All right.
I never been out of East Texas until like I was 12. And my parents were like, "Let's go to Arkansas." I'm like, "Well, that's
hot springs."
Hot springs. We look at it.
Called it.
I mean, we literally like that was just it. And we always grew up. We were like playing baseball tournaments or like there's a basketball tournament. So it was never.
You looked like a guy that played baseball. That's for sure.
I did.
Yeah.
So. So it was never like vacation was never like the where do we want to go? It's like me or my brother. Oh, where's their tournament at? Let's manufacture something.
Yeah. So we just never had money for trips, so we didn't go on them.
Yeah. Literally
went on one trip a year to see a grandparent. The one that lived in Mount Pleasant, and then there's one that lived in Stephenville. And every other year rotate grandparents. But I've obviously graduated a little bit since my upbringing.
You know what? Something gives me the idea that you just don't go on a vacation to Mount Pleasant and Stephenville every year.
Well, yeah, I try to go every 6 months now that I'm doing well. Yeah,
yeah, of course. After my Greece trip.
After after I took a G5 to Iceland, I was like, I'll just go visit Little Rock.
Dude, have you been to Iceland?
Yeah.
Is it sick?
It's the best. Dude. Yeah. I mean, I'm a white girl, so like it's, anything that white girls are into. Yeah, like I'm the Instagram husband, it's like, who's going to want the photo in front of the sign? Not my wife, definitely me. Yeah.
You're like shoving the camera in her hand, like, baby, take this picture now.
She doesn't take great photos of the issue, but we're getting better,
We're teaching.
Yeah. I mean, I do have this, I have DSLRs everywhere, so we should, like, camera quality is good, quality is good, but, just that perfect moment. Some people lock it down better than
that Kodak moment. Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, Iceland's on the bucket list. We've talked about it too. It's like Greece. We want to go to Italy, Iceland, like just all these things, which obviously like don't have the money for it, but it's kind of dreaming right now. It's like, that'd be kind of sick.
Yeah. TikTok might just automatically start paying me $100,000 a month.
Yeah, TikTok takes off.
Yeah.
Who knows?
You're at like 50 million followers. Hey, if it takes off.
If it takes off, every year.
You're like the third biggest TikToker in the world. You're like, well, if it takes off, baby, we can do this.
Me and Charlie D'Amelio at the top, which that's kind of wild.
I don't even know who is it?
I think Charlie D'Amelio is the highest. She's just some
that's a girl.
It's a girl.
Okay.
Random girl from LA that dances. And it's not like the provocative dancing. It's just like she kind of dances and everyone's like, I love her.
Yeah.
And she's got like 115 million followers.
Yeah, it's like when I found out that Selena Gomez had the most Instagram followers.
Does she really?
I don't know if she does anymore, but at one time she did. And she would post like once a week. I mean, it's not like it was just like, I didn't know she was this. Like, how'd she beat Justin Bieber? Like,
yeah, Selena.
Like, she's
kind of just chilling. I mean, she's got her series with like Only Murders in the Building. Have you seen it? I guess you're not a movie guy.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that at one point she was my biggest crush.
Selena was?
Yeah. You know, when I'm like 18-year-old.
I want to flex on you. She commented on one of my TikToks the other day, dude.
Well, I'm getting at one time, so not at all anymore. Yeah, so
I would have been so
18-year-old Nathan would have thought that was the coolest thing ever. What'd she comment?
It was a video about how manipulative someone in the church is, and she just literally said, "So true. Like this kind of person's a hypocrite." And I just wanted to like fangirl and be like, "But like the real life guy's kind of cool, right? Just a character." But
does she follow you on TikTok?
Oh, Selena, is Selena a listener? Is she an award-winning listener?
She's kind of busy, so it's like it depends. Some episodes. Yeah.
Selena, if you're listening,
I can just text this to her.
So you have her number.
Yeah.
Oh, so it went well when you were 18.
Yeah, when I was
You got
18,
her-
I get anything I want in life. Yeah,
You went to coffee with Selena. She was one of the girls. Her and Sarah Bass.
I was actually in LA at the time, and it was like
One of the LA pastors pulled you aside. They said, Nathan, what are your intentions with Selena Gomez? And you're like,
well, it's LA,
rich.
so they're like, hey, have you hit it yet? I mean, it's LA. They don't really follow. Like, LA churches are so I'm being a little judgmental, but they're a little.
Well, it's because you probably have like good churches, right? Like there are good, solid churches that are leading people to Jesus. But then it's like, doesn't the Kardashian family have a church? Have you heard that?
I don't.
Apparently
Of
they
themselves, maybe. I don't know.
They have like a church, and I think it's how they kind of wash their money and kind of tax write-off. I'm not kidding, bro. They have like so it's probably like this mixture of if you have a family in LA and you're pulling up and it's got a normal church name, you're like, is this one run by the Kardashians or is this just like
definitely not? Yeah, you got to have a. I heard a quote that's like, all a non-denominational church is a Baptist church with a cool logo.
Yeah, or like a one-word name. It's Elevate.
I love when people just decide like the Baptist church down the road becomes like Shoreline, and it's like, oh,
I go to Shoreline.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you why I didn't like Shoreline.
Okay,
and tell me.
I'm all ears.
Yeah. So I went there. Everybody's very happy and hype, and it was nice, and it was full, and you love to see growing churches. That's a cool thing. And then the pastors got up there, like the husband and wife, and then they just kind of give like I think they maybe mentioned the Bible once, but it was mainly just a life coaching session.
That's tough.
And so it was like, look, if you have bad people in your life, you need to cut them out. Oh, and so it's just very like, it was just like two pastors on stage just giving life advice and like joking around and joshing. Yeah. And it's like, I was like, oh, I see why like millennials really like this.
Yeah. When was this?
This is like 4 months ago, 3 months ago.
4 months or 3 months ago.
Kim Kardashian Church. This is a real thing. Kylie and Kendall Jenner have attended the video. It's Hillsong's church. Yeah, they just go to the same. It's just Hillsong.
They go to Hillsong. But look at what he highlighted. Do the Kardashians? Jenner is the co-founder of the California Community Church.
Oh, Jenner is the guy or Jenner's the mom? I know they're both guys now. Or no, they're both women now?
They're both women now.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to even make fun. I really just don't. It's so confusing to me.
It's tough to keep up with.
Is the co-founder of California Community Church, formerly called Life Change Church. Life Change Church. Yes.
A lot has changed. A lot has
Justin
changed.
Stonester from West. What religion is Kris Jenner? Does she own a church? Does she own a?
Oh, so it is Kris Jenner. Yes, I guess she did change her name. Yeah.
Wait, Chris. Which one's Chris?
So Chris is the woman.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. Okay. So Chris is the Kardashians' mother, who was originally married to Kardashian, but then they divorced, and then she married Bruce Jenner, now Caitlyn Jenner. So Chris is
okay, I get it.
like their actual mom.
Yeah. Which
a lot of hoops to jump through for that.
Look, I'm not saying that she's. I feel like she kind of is the reason they're all successful.
Yes.
Like if you told me like, hey, who leaked the sex tape? I feel like it'd be her. Yeah.
Yes. I would say that 100% because she saw, and there's an aspect to it where it's like, that's horrible, but you respect her getting that bag. It's like
you kind of like, man. I guess what I feel is like, because I think of her as like a witch. So maybe this is why I
can't disagree.
But I picture her being like, nope, you got to wear something sluttier. Like, I feel like being like that type of mom.
Instead of like, hey, you need to cover up. She's like, nope, won't do it.
Yeah. Like you're not revealing enough.
Yep. 1000%. Which Kanye just finally got out of it. Like they divorced. He got out of the.
He's still hoping they get back together. She's the one who filed a divorce.
But she's dating Pete Davidson now.
Have you seen this meme that's like, it's like Travis Barker, Pete Davidson, and like another one of the Jenner boyfriends or whatever. And they're like, I guess like former meth addict is the look currently.
Bro, they look like they do not eat. Like Machine Gun Kelly looks.
Oh, yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, he's
dating Megan Fox. But
it's Machine Gun Kelly, Travis Barker, and Pete Davidson. It's all of them shirtless, walking with like their very attractive significant others. And
bro,
it's
they
like,
look
I guess the look is like former.
They look malnourished, and that's what's in is like
nourished. Is it nourished or nourished?
Malnourished. I'm trying to brush the East Texas nourished, malnourished, brother. I'm trying to brush the East Texas off. Maybe it is.
I don't think you should brush it off, man. I think it's the most valuable trait you could have.
I think I saw a study So this might be fake news. I think I saw a study that said that the Southern accent is the most attractive accent. So, yeah.
Yeah. Like the biggest advantage you can have is people thinking you're an idiot.
That's so true. I'm not
because
kidding.
if people think you're smart, then you had to live up to things.
When I was in college, so I was an education major. I was going to be a teacher. My mom was a teacher.
Oh my gosh.
I know. My mom was a teacher. They asked me, because I was still playing college baseball at the time, so they asked me, like,
You played baseball and you wanted to be an educator.
Because
wow.
I didn't know, like, what am I
Was there a
good
girl
at?
you didn't get at your ministry? I mean, you're the baseball player that wants to, I just want to educate children, baby.
I love kids. Just serve some time at the orphanage down the road. Oh my God. Been serving baked beans to the homeless. But I was an education
Hey, after
major.
I celebrate beans, you want to go get a steak with me?
Coffee, steaks. Oh, I'm not proposing, Nathan, like you are. But I'm sitting there and all my classes were women. And so when I would kind of talk, I would act dumb. And a lot of it was because this is how education was. It was very group centered. So like you have your group assigned at the end of the year or at the beginning of the year. That's who you're working with. Everything's group project. So I would just act dumb and they'd be like, hey, buddy, can you just handle the title page on this? And I'm like,
yeah, you got it.
And so it came year end time. There's a big test you have to take. It's called the PPP. As a teacher, you have to pass that to essentially get your license. And so we were taking the practice PPP and I made a higher grade than all the girls at my table. And like one of them specifically, livid. She's like, you made a what? I can't believe it. And I think it was full circle moment.
How funny is how they're like, you idiot.
You idiot.
They're almost telling you to your face, wait, the idiot made a better score than me?
The title page guy made, and she's like literally pulling my answer sheet over just to confirm. She's like, no way. So she was upset, but don't hate the player, hate the game.
Now I'm just going to be honest. Was she overweight?
Can I plead the fifth? Pierre, can I plead the fifth?
That's everything I need to know. Yeah. I said this deposition's going real well.
I plead the
fifth. If I was to order her a gift, what size would that need to be?
Again, plead the fifth. Plead the fifth.
Oh, I can't give gifts?
No.
Okay.
No. Maybe a non-wearable gift, something that's all-encompassing.
Yeah. I'm starting a women's dress shirt line. And what kind of neck size do you think she'd probably be?
Is a neck size a thing? I don't know.
You don't have a dress shirt?
Whatever. Yeah. Oh, well, I guess it is. Whatever is.
I was like, this guy doesn't. I was like, we're going to stop this right now and go buy you a dress shirt. I feel bad. I feel like now I'm like your father.
I'm
Papa
like
Nate going to come in here. And,
yeah. Like, no, sir, this is all I got right here. Just my shirt.
Is that a real gold chain?
No, not at all. $10 off Amazon.
Yeah. Now, is it just that you saw the old Italian mobsters and you thought, that's kind of where I want to be?
Yes. Okay. So when I was in college and I started realizing I like to make rap music and I would do these very small performances. It almost became a comical thing of like, I can't tell if he's like real or not. Cause it's hard to flex when you're a broke college kid. And like a lot of like rap music is like, let me flex. And so this was part of like the persona is like, you might think this is real, but if you ask me, it's, $10 from Amazon. So that's what it is. It's kind of
okay. So let's get into the rap stuff.
Okay.
You have this huge audience, and I'm sure all the time you think of TikTok.
Oh, like, TikTok. Yes.
Of nothing to do with
nothing
rap.
to do with my rap music.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And do you think, all right, now how do I convert this huge audience of Christians that that like to make fun of the annoying stuff in the church to all of a sudden like my rap music? Does that ever a thing that plays in your head that you're like, how do I solve this problem?
I've thought about it because at the end of the day, I know you know this. It's kind of this path of like, okay, I really love the creative side of this, but it's also how can I like monetize this, I guess. And for a while I thought the best way was like, I'm just going to keep on doing rap music, like, and just pushing people over to that, pushing people over. But I realized it was kind of a come to Jesus moment. I'm just not that good. I was like, my rap music's just not that good. Like, it's fun to make and I enjoy, but at the end of the day, it's not a super high quality product. And so
it's because you need a better producer.
I might need a better producer. Or
can
maybe
can you get DJ Khaled on the line? Let's just get
DJ Khaled.
Hey, this guy needs a beat.
Just literally, he's probably got 1 million laying around.
Dolph died. Now's your time.
There could not be two more like opposite guys as far as people entering the rap game between Dolph and me. But it was just like, it's not that good. It's fun to make and it was kind of a hobby, but I realized like there's probably some better stuff I could focus my time
All
on.
I can think about is like Gary Vee right now being like, you just gotta follow your passion. You just gotta like,
No, don't do it. And he gets like higher pitched. Like,
I just want you to be saying this like, hey, I'm thinking about giving up rap.
and Gary, what? You're gonna do what?
What? Yeah.
I make 100 rap songs a day. Do this for me. Picture your parents dead. Now go make rap music. And then you're like,
have you seen that TikTok of one podcast like playing that clip where he's like, maybe you should just picture your parents getting murdered or something, and they're like, what? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, he's like, every day I take 5 minutes. And you're like, cool. And I think, what if my entire family was dead? And you're like, what? Gary, you dog. Okay.
Amazing. Okay, so you're saying like, look, you're still gonna do it for fun, but you're not trying to make a career out of it.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, there's probably other ways to kind of other avenues to look into.
Now, do you think you'll like try to turn into stand up now that you have this audience and they like you because of your comedy?
I was just thinking that, like, I feel like stand up could be something fun to do, but it's also very different having a stage presence and having a camera presence.
Keep in mind, there's like 3 Christian comedians. So John Christ, and then there's another guy,
Trey Kennedy.
He doesn't really out. His isn't Christian jokes though.
It's not. Yeah, it's not Christian centric.
I'm saying. Yeah. So we have.
What's the
Joe
guy?
Chris, and then it's he's like shorter, and he did a Netflix special or he did an Amazon special where he his girlfriend he like did a blind date at a comedy club in front of everybody, wide open audience.
But it's tough.
Yeah, because they have a $9 but they have the Dave Ramsey like, let me check my envelope, see what I have to spend this month.
Well, I'm trying to buy a car cash, so I've been eating ramen noodles the past 3 days.
I don't know. I think some of these principles are really great. Like I think like driving a terrible car is like a really good thing for like your psyche because it helps you work hard to like get a nice one. And I think buying a nice car where you don't have shit is like a dumb thing to do.
So
and like,
dumb.
So there are a lot of like look, I think that if you take all this stuff at face value and you don't go too deep into it and you just have like, for example, like his is like you don't need a credit score. I'm not saying you need a credit card debt, but you definitely need a credit score. Because if you want good, Michael Jr. I am sorry, Mr. Michael Jr. You are the 3rd Christian comedian I know of. He's pretty good.
Yeah, it's hard, dude. Christian, because it's like Pete Davidson. Love his like stand up and stuff, or Bert Kreisler, I think it is. But like
the machine,
dude. I love.
I'm a Theo Von guy. So.
I love Theo Von. So funny, but they can be a bit more unfiltered, and shock value has a lot of comedic value. And so I feel like as a Christian comedian, you have to push the envelope, but then it's all of a sudden, oh, he's like secular, or that's horrible to say. How could you? It's not the same as like a,
Yeah, because if there's one segment of society that loves to get mad about people getting canceled, but can't handle any pressure. Going back at them. It's like mainstream Christians.
It can't
and so it's like if I go into like Brentwood Baptist and my opening joke is like, wow, a Baptist church with a bunch of old white people. This is surprising.
You're done.
Yeah.
Get him off stage. He's done.
Cut mics. Wrong guy.
Literally might assassinate you on the spot. And this is what's funny. It's literally like you just said. So I made a bit the other day making fun of Joel Osteen, which is that's low hanging fruit. Shame on me. But we made it, and we have an Instagram.
What do you think this $600,000 found in a bathroom?
Oh, that's for sure his. It was stolen.
Really? I don't think it's suspicious. I actually don't. So everybody's like freaking out over it, and maybe I'm just an idiot. But I'm like, okay, somebody clearly stole it. And then was like, I got to park it here until I get out of the church, and hasn't been able to get out of the church yet. Because if it was his, he would have got it out of the church.
I think they reported it as stolen. Maybe as like trying to get the income down, or we can wash it, we can write it off. Like, oh, somebody stole our money. And then it's all just in the
It was insured, so they got to immediately it back, which then they'd commit insurance fraud. I just don't see a church that does, $1 million a week in donations. Like, I don't really see them.
$600K too much.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Or like hiding it in walls. Like, if you're going to steal it, what do? You get rid of it. Like, you steal it. Like, I don't.
That gives more context maybe behind why he didn't open his church up for Hurricane Harvey. Like everyone's like, Joel, we can just put him in the bathroom. I was like, no, we can't. Nope. No, buddy, we can't.
I can already tell this, and that's TikTok you want to make. I can already tell it.
I've got one in the hopper. But I made fun of Joel Osteen. This is a while back. And this guy on our meme page was like offended. Like he followed our account. I'd seen him before. He was offended. How could you? Shame on you. Because I'm assuming that's his pastor, right? And
well, it's not that. It's like the problem is it's not his pastor, it's his God. Because like you can make fun of my pastor all day long.
Because you and I believe, and rightfully so, pastors are people just like us.
Yeah.
Like we walk the same, and maybe they're, I guess.
Well, Joel Osteen's, maybe his Ferrari's faster than mine,
We'll see. We'll tell Joel, pull up. We'll see.
He's got a 458. They're actually pretty slow.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
You have a faster car than Joel Osteen.
I don't have Ferrari.
See, you can lie. You could say whatever you want to me, and I would believe it. 100%. So just keep it calm. I believe everything at this point. I'm wide-eyed. This is my first time at a Spotify, or I'm assuming you're on Spotify. Yeah. Spotify podcast.
By the way, not trying to flex, but we did get approved for Spotify video. Which there's another guy, small content creator named Joe Rogan. He's also has Spotify video.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, bold guy, short, looks like a monkey.
Does he copy your podcast? Like he tries to do it like you do?
Yeah, he interviews a bunch of PhDs like I do.
That's me, PhD.
Yeah.
I listened to the podcast that I listened to before I decided like, okay, is this a cool podcast to come on? You want to check it out. And I was telling Pierre this, you had the woman who had like the PhD in like, what was it, neuroscience or psychology? And she was just this very well-spoken, intelligent woman. And I'm like, oh man, I'm not bringing that.
Dude, you should have listened to some of these. We have some real crazy episodes.
Really?
There's one where a guy like watched his mom murder his brother when he was 7. His brother was 5.
Oh.
His mom would like make him eat his own poop, like just do crazy stuff. And like,
oh my gosh.
And so typically somebody that has that kind of childhood trauma grows up to be a serial killer, but this guy didn't.
I mean, obviously, yeah, you're still here.
Yeah.
You're like, we had to replace the old engineer with Pierre, because that didn't go well. But yeah, I'm still here. But back to what I was saying about Joel Osteen is this guy's like offended. And he's like, how could you be so critical? Blah, 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 blah. And so I check out his page. I'm like, okay, what's this guy about? Some dude in LA. And quite literally his whole page is, and again, to each their own, I don't know what to say, but he was being very critical of specific political figures and how they handled COVID and all that. And he is like not holding back. And so I'm like, bro, like you're upset with me because I make a literal 10-second video about your boy who is a little bit of a prosperity gospel guy, but you're sitting here just absolutely torching. Like he's not yet. And so it's just like, you're literally giving out all this heat and you can't take like from a meme page nonetheless. Like we're literally just here trying to make you laugh.
Yeah.
That's my favorite is when people dive in and try to get our meme page. Like, what do you think about existentialism? Blah, blah, blah. Like, bro, I just want to make a funny video. Don't ask me to dive in.
I love when people give church terms to everything. Like
everything.
Tell me about your sanctification process. And I'm like, oh, you mean like the process of me getting to know Jesus better, right? Like, why can't we just talk like we're normal human beings, right?
Because I want to sound smart.
Yeah.
I want to be the smartest. So tell me, what is your opinion on Arminianism versus what's it? Oh my God, I can't believe I'm losing it. Arminianism versus what's going to come?
Pierre, you should have this up in 2 seconds. What are you doing?
Arminianism versus it's the other side, and it's literally like not even something that someone would actually like a requirement to get into heaven, but it's people that like just debate nonstop. Well, actually, I believe this. I actually believe this, and it's like. You can like follow Jesus. Like this isn't life or death.
What is it?
Calvinism.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you? Are you a Calvinist? I had to learn what a Calvinist was. Yeah. Through TikTok because people are asking, what are your opinions on the Calvinist views of blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't know. Just want to make you laugh.
Yeah. So it's an interesting debate because it is this weird idea that's some people are like predestined for hell is like kind of the other side of it, right? It's like you either chosen or not chosen.
Right.
And it's like, well, then why do we go share the gospel? Oh, because we can change things. And it's like, so it seems like the argument falls apart, actually. Yeah. I don't know. I'm always confused with this. Like, here's again, might be too niche for your audience, but maybe want to try out.
Okay.
Let's see what this says in the Greek.
I love that so much. It's Oh man.
Well, actually, in the Greek, this is translated as.
Well, and it's funny because, and that's more than ever, that's so relevant because the accessibility to the Bible now is like bigger than it's ever been. So you'll have people who are proclaimed atheists or this or that, very accessible to like read the Bible, understand it, get commentary on it. And so it's just a bunch of people in my comments. You ask like, why are my videos as big as they are? It's because people are arguing with me, each other, and it's just driving engagement up. And I'm like, hey, this is kind of fun to watch. And it's people that are like, well, I'm actually an atheist, have them, blah, blah, blah. In 1 John chapter this, it says this, and the Greek behind it is actually, and I'm like, you're doing this in a TikTok comment section, bro. Like, I hope that's not lost on you. It's insane.
I always bring everything back to this point is nobody is working hard enough or nobody's life is hard enough. Like, people's lives are too easy if you have time to do that. That's really what it is. Like, it's like the fact that you have time to comment on this is like your life is too easy.
Or even spend time researching and debating. And then like what happens? Like, do you think that someone actually leaves a comment section and says, hey,
I've never thought of that.
Dragon Slayer X_69 was kind of right. Maybe, no one leaves the comment section. They leave it more infuriated and they're upset. And then that just probably is making them more prone to like look for another comment that they can actually just go in on. Because I think it's a little bit of a high. It's like, it was kind of fun arguing with somebody and I'm smart. Let me find another one.
That's a really, okay, so we just bought a home and we have a landlord here, like we rent here. And I just dominated my landlord, like destroyed him.
Do tell.
And it's the best feeling ever. All right, so I reach out to him and I go, hey, we have a 2-year lease. And we lived at a place before here. I haven't been now. It's just 11 months. Yeah. That ends so we have a 2-year lease that ends like February 4th or something. Or that's the end of 1 year, and then there will be 1 year left. And I was like, hey, we had a kid, way tougher than expecting, and the market's crazy with inflation. I spent 8 months on I didn't say this to him, but I spent 8 months on a real estate deal that fell through where I was going to put all my cash, and now I have this cash. I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll just park it in real estate that I'll live in. And long term, I want to be in Nashville. And, we made this decision. So I texted him, and I'm like, hey, at the end of 1 year, so that would be, we'll pay January, and that'll be it. But then the 1 year, we're gonna be out. And I have no intention of leaving you high and dry. So I'm gonna find another renter for you. I think I can even find somebody that'll pay more than what we pay.
Nice.
Like more than anything, like if I need to market this place, like you get an agent. To be how it works is the agent gets a commission on the year lease or whatever. I was like, I'll pay the commission for the agent. Like, just I'll make this happen. And he writes back, under no circumstances am I allowing you to leave this lease. You're not allowed to. It's in the contract. Blah blah blah.
You should have known better. What is he doing? What is he doing?
And it's like, oh, that's my name on my cuff on my thing, and that's my lion with a black diamond on my cufflinks. It's like, let's go, son.
That's the worst, bro. You like extend an absolute olive branch.
Yeah. And so he's like, under no circumstance. And I go, hey man, why are you being like this way? Like, I'm literally giving you everything. Like, I don't know why you. And
I'm making you more money.
Yeah.
Potentially.
And so, just no, under no circumstances. And then he's finally, I'll let you leave. You do 6 months up front, like a 6-month penalty, which should be $20,000.
Yeah.
I was like, no. So anyway. He says all these things, and I'm like, well, I'll make them fill out questionnaires and W-2s. Like, I'll have everything ready. Like, you don't even have to interview. Like, I'll get you the right candidate, whatever. And then I was like, look, I'm even willing to do this. The person that takes over, if they don't pay, it comes out to me, and I have to pay it if they don't pay. Like, I'm even willing to take responsibility.
Yeah.
No, under no circumstances, blah, blah. Just awful, right? And his whole thing around this is that he's mad at me because it took him 6 months to fix. We had like an AC issue. It took him 6 months to fix it. And around 6 months, it was in just our son's room. And so, like, he could get SIDS if it gets overheated. Like, there's a bunch of issues of it. So right when our son was born, is when I started to drop the hammer. I was like, you got to get this fixed. And he was like, you were just so adamant about that issue getting fixed. And that, like, so this one thing made him not like me anymore. Yeah. Now, look, he's a Pakistani guy that owns 6 Subways. So I'm not saying he's cheap, but, like, he's probably pretty cheap.
Well, it also sounds like he's well off, too.
And so... Thankfully, there's a Texas law that says if you
I'm locked in.
If if you find somebody to take over your lease, like if you leave a lease and you find somebody and they decline that person and they're like all qualified, they call, it's weird how it's written, but essentially, but if you find a qualified person, no matter if you're locked into a contract, no matter what, if they're fully qualified and your landlord won't even look at it, like if they won't accept them or look into it, then it's now your landlord's responsibility to fill your empty house, and it's not yours. And so the most you can be penalized for is the time that it was empty. But in my case, it's like I found qualified renters, and he
said no.
Yeah. So I know this while he's saying all this crazy stuff.
Oh.
So I just continue to be like, look, I'm willing to do this. And I'm like, hey, I have this guy. He made such amount of money.
Keeping all of it too for your documents.
Yeah.
You're like, hey man, just let me. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, he's like, no, I'm going to go meet with my attorney, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, great. Go spend more money.
Yeah.
So, meets with his attorney, doesn't text me or whatever. And so, yesterday, I drop off our rent check, and I send him a text like, hey, I dropped off the check. And because when he was mad at me, he decided he would get mad about everything. He's like, last time you dropped off the rent check, you didn't even text me. I was like, I don't know why I need to text you when I drop it off at your front door.
This guy sounds like he's the worst. Good Lord.
And keep on, like, I thought this guy and I were friends. Like, it was just like, I thought everything was normal. And then he started crazy. And so, anyway, okay, I dropped off the check. Just want you to know, we're going to move out January, by January 1st, the house will be empty. So we moved it up a month because our house in Nashville, the renovations are happening like crazy quick. He was like, you just can't do that, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to affect your credit score, all this. And so this is now it's like my time to.
We're in the end game now.
That little smirk comes up. And I go, well, according to Texas law 90.224C, and under our contract, under line 27C, as long as I find qualified buyer, like qualified renters, and you do not accept them, then it's now you're liable to find somebody to fill the house. And he writes back, well, who's going to pay I paid commission for, like the real estate agent when you signed it to your lease. Who's going to pay that commission? And I go, again, I offered to pay that commission and you said no. And so he was like, so keep in mind, he went like, I had to pay a year advance, then it sits. And he's like, okay, well, 2 months and then you can walk. And then he was like, and if you don't do 2 months, I'm going to bring an attorney involved. And I like smirk at my wife and I go, all right, so 2 months, that's $6,600. The court system's backed up for about 2 years right now.
Yeah.
He's got to find a way to serve me because I'm a business guy. I bought my house through about 9 LLCs. So he's got to somehow find out where my new house is and then hire somebody to go to another state and serve me.
You. Yeah.
And then he's got to wait 2 years. And then, of course, because he took 6 months to get my air conditioner fixed and I have all that in documentation, I'm going to countersue him for not being in a livable place because my air conditioner was broken. And then I think we're going to see like what a bad mistake this was. Yeah. So it was this like end game of like he was just crazy. He like went crazy.
Yeah.
And then I just was like, oh, I'm going to win this.
By the way, God, this got to feel good.
It feels so good.
It's got to feel good. Just kind of going through the laws and being like,
it's best when somebody's like terrible and then you can kind of just like
that's
put it
true.
in their face.
You don't want to do it to a nice person.
Yeah. And like, keep in mind, I didn't know this law when I originally reached out trying to be like the nicest guy ever.
Yeah.
What are your notes?
Oh, dude, yeah. So I didn't know how we were gonna what we were gonna do. So I took notes of things that like came up in my mind. I was like, yeah, we can talk about this. The first thing, this isn't even Christian related. This is just a take that I've had for a while. The Dakotas, South and North Dakota, we shouldn't have two of them. We just need one Dakota.
That's what you wanted to come on this podcast. You thought
that was
this?
One of them.
This is one of the things you thought of.
I mean, it makes me upset. Like no one other than the what's the president's face carved in the mountain? I don't even know what it's called.
Mount Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
Nobody. If you took Mount Rushmore,
that was the most millennial thing I've or Gen Z thing.
I know what it is.
That's the most Gen Z thing I've ever heard.
What's the president? I don't know.
The stone that
it has like people's faces on it. Like I don't even know. Is it like Rob Kardashian? Who is that? Yeah. But if you took that out,
wait, the Kardashians have a brother? Do they really? No, I'm serious.
Oh yeah, they actually do.
What happened?
He dated like some woman.
Oh, please tell me this dude's ugly.
China. Yeah.
This guy's super ugly.
He's wealthy, so he can't be ugly. It's like against the rules. But he dated this woman named China. I think.
Oh, he dated a communist. That's what he did.
Dating a commie.
Yeah.
I see what you're doing here, you Kardashians. No, yeah, I think she got him for a good chunk of change. They divorced. Yeah, there they are. How cute. Rob Kardashian.
Oh, he's fat and ugly. This is amazing.
No, he's wealthy. He's a wealthy young man.
This dude's like a thinner fat Joe. Especially
she spelled China Chyna. No communism. That's good. She's a capitalist.
Dude, can you imagine taking your great grandfather to go meet? And you're like, this is my girlfriend China.
This is my girlfriend China.
It's spelled. I don't even know how you. I don't even know. See where you're. I don't even know how it's whatever. But
and remember, I'm from East Texas. That would have gone over poorly. So poorly.
All right, so Mount Rushmore.
Dude, you would not drive over the state line of North and South Dakota and be like, oh, we're in South Dakota now. It's just like,
yeah, I mean, here would be a fun game. Name the governor of South Dakota. Name a congressman or name a senator from South Dakota.
Anything about South or North Dakota.
Do they have senators? Like, I only know, I mean, I know Ted Cruz is the senator of Texas. Like, that's pretty much all I know. I can maybe name, Marco Rubio is like in Florida. Yeah. Like, I can maybe name a few others.
I'll make it easier on you. Name a city in South or North Dakota.
Oh, South is easy. Something Springs, something Springs,
Hot Springs. That's what it is. Yeah.
Something Springs, South Dakota. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway,
that's what I'm saying.
I know because I know. Damn it, I feel like I do know one. I don't know.
And who lives there?
Not a lot. Like 300,000 people is all. It's probably mostly like oil workers or something. Like it's like mines and stuff.
Oh,
we have a client.
Only 300,000.
Because we have a client that like is an apartment complex in South Dakota, and it's like it's for oil rigs. Like they just help like oil rig. Yeah.
So you're telling me I have flex of the day? I have more followers than one of the states. South and North Dakota has people.
No, hey, do total population of South and North Dakota.
Please have under.
Come on, what are we doing?
Oh wait,
it's cut off.
Those are just their cities.
Yeah, the city.
Fargo.
Okay, I've heard of Fargo. Do just like total population of North Dakota. No, just Google total population of North Dakota. Is it not letting you?
I guess they have that cool kind of FCS school like North Dakota State, North Dakota.
Yeah. All right, let's take guesses right now. I'm going to say 330.
I'll say 420,000.
And we're betting Lamborghini or some small bet.
The one that we both have. Oh,
you're right. Okay, and then South Dakota is 884.
So
Wyoming is the real. Yeah, so Wyoming's the one with nothing.
Man, that makes me sad.
Now, how many followers do you have?
I think 318,000 now. So
not even enough. Not even enough for Wyoming.
Dang it, Wyoming. We'll get there. We're still working on it, but that was like quite literally one of the first things that came to mind. Is like, what am I upset about? And that's it.
All right. So second thing.
Okay, there's been a trend in Christianity lately where everything is like occult symbolism and satanic. And I'm sick.
Oh, okay, that is not recently. That's been happening for about 10 years.
I guess I've just been seeing it.
Yeah, it's a real
everything.
So the key is middle-aged white people on Facebook that are retired. That's the key.
Nothing better to do. They see someone like
so. I was in
an eye, and it's like,
I was in a Bible study.
Oh no!
And this guy was like, the reason. Damn it! I gotta get
the reason.
It's just, it makes me so mad saying this even. He's like, well, guys, the reason there's a bite out of the apple in the Apple logo is because that's Adam taking a bite out of it, and they want Satan on your phone.
Amen.
And I go,
amen.
I just stand up. I go, that's not true. I was like, I know the story of it. Like the logo designer, the problem is it looks like a cherry when you have it in there. Mm-hmm. And because they knew they wanted to use the mark when it was super small, and they're not called cherry, they're called apple. Mm-hmm. So they added a bite out of it so it was clear that was an apple. That's the reason. Like the logo designer is a single guy, like out of California.
And that's just
We're
it.
not a big agency. He was paid $300 or something, like $200.
Oh, he got gypped.
So like, we'll see it. You can Google this maybe and find out the facts. But I was like, so stop that. I was like, you saw that on Facebook. It's ridiculous. So this is like, several years ago. And then I've seen some others that are my favorite. And I think my favorite of all time is the Monster logo.
I was just going to say the Monster logo. It's that lady like, so if you look here.
And then you flip it upside down.
The base. And it's a 6. And you're like.
It's like, this takes some creativity. This takes some creativity to come to like.
The mental gymnastics is just insane.
Look, I don't know what it's like to be a Satanist, right? But I would think to be like, all right, I'm a Satanist. I want to get Satan in this energy drink company's logo. Like, I just don't know if like that's even like, for example, I love myself. I don't try to find a way to hide my name in clients' logos that we design. Right? Like it's just kind of like a ridiculous like. Let's add on to this though.
Well, so take it a step further. Now it's not just the logos. It's like, musicians and artists. And then even step further, it's like now the Christian community, I don't know what it is, on TikTok is like calling out Christian artists. Like legitimately men and women, like some that I know like to a somewhat personal level who like literally have devoted their lives like, I'm going to make good music for the kingdom of God. And, and they're like, well, if you notice here in this song, he covers his eye in the music video. That's a reference to, the Illuminati ties that he has. And you're like, bro, what? Or, and if you notice this, there's a deer. If you'll notice, there's a deer antler in the background that's referencing the, and it's just like, look at that Satanism. And
it's like, and the truth is that's actually my other TikTok account, and I'm the guy doing
you.
that because I see the divide I'm able to cause, and it's awesome. It's like I'm so satisfied right now. I'm like, I've tricked everyone.
But the legitimate issue is that what these people don't see. So have you ever heard of screw tape letters?
Yeah.
So literally screw tape letters, and I believe this is one of the things that's referenced to wormwood, is there's so much confusion on the end now. Is like now there's like, I believe that they're Christian. Like I do believe that they believe in the story of Jesus and that he died for humanity. But now instead of like their focus being on something divine where we're helping the kingdom, it's like we are just off on a rabbit hole. And
everybody's wrong. Everybody's wrong.
Everything's wrong but me. I'm the smartest and I noticed this about Lecrae or Andy Mineo. And it's like, you could be doing a million things. It's like you said, like you could be doing so many better things with your time. Yeah. So that's what I've been on.
I'll tell you something that's disappointing. NF is really short. I ran into him in Nashville. Like 5'9", maybe like 5'7". I don't know, tiny, maybe just tiny.
That's why he's upset, bro.
Yeah,
his music, he's mad.
I don't want this person doesn't work there. Perfect. Okay, I had somebody who worked at like very like on all his albums.
Oh,
and she was like, it's like, oh, another NF album that sounds identical to the last one, and he's still depressed.
Yeah, he's just mad. But it's like, hey, that's his style. And
I mean, he's like the first Christian rapper, in my opinion, that's ever been good. I know I never liked Lecrae, but he's like the first Christian rapper, in my opinion, that was like, because he didn't rap about Christ. He'd rap about normal stuff.
He happened to be a Christian. I know a bunch of people that really got into like, I guess even heard about Jesus because of NF. Yep. And like, that's the whole point. It's like, people are like, well, look at how NF did this. And it's like, no, he just kept it real. And now as a result, there's a demographic.
I think there's this like
Jesus.
Weird thing that always gets forgotten with older people, which is that we're broken in need of a savior. Mm-hmm. Like our brokenness is a part of our story. It doesn't mean that we like live in it excitingly. They're like, look, I'm broken. I sin all the time. It doesn't mean like we should be reckless, right? And that is like every contemporary church. You see people like living in their sin and they're like completely okay with it. And that is like really disappointing and can be really disheartening. I mean, I remember one of the saddest moments of like my, at the time my life, I wouldn't say now, not when I was at, but I was dating a girl, went to a Bible study, and like I was trying to wait till marriage, and she really wanted to have sex, and she was like, there's like 12 couples in this group. She's like, everyone in this group, none of them are married, all of them are sleeping together. Mm-hmm. This is like a church group, and I just remember feeling like sickened.
It's like defeating,
yeah, and it was like, it wasn't that it's, oh, I'm better than you because I'm a virgin. That's obvious. I'm kidding, but that wasn't my reason
to say that.
but it was just defeating. I mean, it was just like, oh, like we all love Jesus, but only some of us like are willing to like deny ourselves. Yeah. And because like we're asked to, right?
Well, and that's literally the love of Jesus is, you know, believing like the Trinitarian gospel, Jesus is God. The love of God is being obedient to what he calls us to.
Yeah.
And so and I'm not that guy to say, oh, well, you're a Christian if you do this, or, but it's, I guess the fruits or whatever that you see, or the fruit is quite literally just like following and trying to be obedient to the Lord. But then that's the story, is like, I'm broken, so I do it very poorly, but I'm not going to stew in it and be like, oh, you know, I got drunk, so I'm going to just continue getting drunk. And that's the, you know, that's,
yeah.
You know,
and I mean, that was the thing. It was just this thing of like, yeah, like, that's a hard sin. So of course we're not going to tackle that one.
That's a hard sin.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't know, very, you know, and again, that's what I think that is why every church talks about it so much. Like that is like the other side of it. You're like, man, they always focus on sets. Like it's because it's like, well, it is kind of the biggest rampant thing. It's the biggest rampant sin in college ministry. Mm-hmm. Like whether you like it or like that is just the fat. And so that's why they talk about it all the time.
It's the only sin with an expiration date. So you kind of look at it, you're like, so it's not that bad, right? But
yeah, and then it's this weird thing where like, hey, it's the greatest thing ever. Once you're like, the problem is how it's hyped. That's
the pastor's like, everyone, I'm here joined with my beautiful wife, Lucille. Lucille, stand up right there. You know? She's just like, oh my God. And everyone's like, why are we clapping for his wife? He's like, that's right. We had intercourse.
No, I mean, there is this like thing. It's like your whole life as a kid. It's like I was homeschooled, so I was very sheltered from it all. But for the most part, everybody acts like sets is the greatest thing ever. Mm-hmm. And nobody ever had a story to me of like, well, actually, like sets with the person you're going to spend like the rest of your life with is actually a really beautiful picture, mm-hmm. or sets with somebody you're like really in love with. And if you build a relationship on sets and sets goes away, which can happen, like it can be absent in your relationship, then like what do you actually have? And like if somebody like actually had real conversations, that would be amazing. Yeah.
It would be so much better.
But
we would have.
I was just told sets is bad, don't have it. Right? That is not a good like. That's not a good thing, because then the second you're like, well, I want to be bad. It's like, cool, I'll go be bad. Yeah. But if you're convicted at a deeper level where you're like, oh, I don't want to like we'll take porn, for example. It's like, I don't look at porn because I want to have a really good marriage. Mm-hmm. And all the stats show me that if I look at porn, I'm not going to have a good marriage. Yep. So even if I have temptations, I'm like, well, I really want to have a good marriage. And then there's things of like your brain works better when you're not like, you know, and you're like, you're more present and all the other things. Oh, yeah. I will say one of the things that made me feel really good about like struggling with porn in my life was when a guy came to a Bible study that's like, yeah, I look at porn 10 hours a day. And I was like, oh, so my 30 minutes a week, like I know it's awful. I know it's awful.
Oh, does he know how many hours we have in a day?
I know it's awful, but I was like, when somebody's sin is way worse than yours, it really does help you. I know it's like not good at all, but like
it's interesting because you're like, well, I guess I'm not as bad as that guy, but that's not the gospel. The gospel is very much so that like God sees what I say, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah, you're like okay. Like, because kind of the way people pitch it to you, that if you look at it at all, if you've ever looked at it, that you have like the worst problem of your life, and that, you know, you're risking like, and so when you find the guy that's like a little worse at it than you, you're like, well.
Wow. My favorite is me and my buddy, there's another Christian TikToker who does a phenomenal job. His name's Caleb.
Does he have long hair?
No.
Do you know the guy does long hair and does like the worship?
No. I feel like if I saw him, I probably
He's like 500,000 subscribers, you know, a little bigger than you. So I don't know if you,
Not for long. We're coming for a while. No, Caleb, he's kind of a taller dude. He's short hair. But he does like he calls him Jailer, like a cocky guy. And it's just like, you know, the group's going around with their struggle. He's like, you know, I've just really been struggling with a lot of women asking me to go on dates and having a hard time stewarding my time, you know?
I do have a story with that. I was at a men's Bible study and like, hey, what can we pray for? And this guy goes, there's this weird thing where you don't have to have anything to pray for. It's okay.
It's fine.
Yeah.
You and don't so have to
he goes, you know, man, I just haven't been blessing the meal before I eat it. Swear. All guys, no women in the group. Just haven't been blessing the meal before I eat it.
Did everyone die laughing?
Yeah. And everyone's like, oh, okay, we'll pray for that. And I just like, I go serial killer face, or I just like,
haven't been blessing the meal. Like, and it's right after, it's on the tail end of someone being like absolutely distraught, like my life's falling apart, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, okay. You're like, Steven, guys, I haven't been blessing my meal, my avocado toast before I eat it in the morning. I was like, shut up.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I think of I hate co-ed studies, because I'm like, look, Chad's not going to open up about his porn addiction, and Katie's not going to open up about I guess whatever women struggle with. I don't, as bad as it is, it just always seems like women don't struggle with sin. It just always seemed that every church group I've ever been in, it's here's the guys that are just messes and awful, and the women are like, I talked behind that guy's back, or it's because the women just feel so judged. I don't even feel like they can open up about anything.
It's definitely.
I have a woman friend that struggled with porn, and she was like, I felt like I could never, ever say anything to anyone, because it was everyone in the group was perfect, and there was 20 women, none of them would, I'm just, all of them were about, I have a trouble getting over this guy, or this guy really broke my heart, or so-and-so led me on.
Which I think the stats, if I saw an updated one, it was 40% of women. So it's very much at least just in porn, and so it's kind of I guess for guys it's so expected, so we're just but I do feel like women, it's harder for them to share sin because it's just so much more judgy.
And this girl actually spoke in front of this entire college ministry about her, and it was the big problem. Everybody's thing was man, when you speak about this, everybody's gonna approach you and be like, oh, I struggle with this too, and so that was the thing that was she had a line of 100 guys waiting to meet her, I struggle with this too.
Yeah. It's so
it's you don't need to tell her. You don't need to tell her.
She doesn't need to know.
Yeah, she doesn't need to know.
She's heard that story before.
It's good, yeah.
I'll never forget. So my church back in college, where I went to college at, I was a leader, but we had a...
Oh, you're a leader. Yeah, throw that in there. Hey, Pierre, make sure that everybody knows he was a leader.
Pierre, I was a really good leader for our church. The best. So we had a new pastor come in, college ministry pastor. Dude's 27 at the time, good looking dude, can talk nobody's business, smooth, right? And so we had a...
And which girl did he marry within 6 months of?
So he's still single. He's still a single guy. That's the great news, is there's no sad ending to this story. He did it well, but he kind of pulled up, and we had the way it was designed, we would have 3 kind of individual groups, guys, girls, your kind of small group. And then at the end of every month, we would have a come together. We would go to the auditorium, and it's he would preach. So the first month that happens, right? Everyone's fresh on campus. They hear about this guy. His name's Blake, right? Good looking dude.
Of course.
Played college football, everything. And, he gets up there and speaks, kills it. Awesome dude. And then it finishes, and you look kind of down the line on the left hand, the lining of the auditorium, and it's just girls lined up, college age girls, 20, 21, ready to meet Blake, ready to go talk to Blake. Blake, loved your sermon today. Because it was just the new guy on campus, smaller campus maybe. Even though he was 27, it was still just yeah, I'm gonna go say hi to Blake.
And did he allow that?
I think he deterred it pretty well, because he's a pastor. He and I know I make fun of the church a lot. I've had a phenomenal example of good pastors, and he was one of them. Dude stewarded things well. So maybe it's wrong of me to just do the bad side of things.
Well, it's because we all we've all seen it, I guess. I don't know, and it's all in I don't know. We're not attacking churches. We're just kind of having a good time and laughing at some of the silly stuff we see. And that's the thing that when people get mad at your comments, it's it is a meme.
It's it's literally a meme. It's so unique because it is a joke. And at the end of the day, I look at this and this is comedy, and God has a sense of humor. But I guess it is to a certain extent, if that's the person that I'm making fun of, it's this is their livelihood. This is their faith. It's what they've built their life on. So when I attack Joel Osteen and someone has just followed him for years, they're or at least they feel attacked. It's not really an attack. It's a joke.
It's the same thing when you attack Trump. I voted for Trump, and you can talk shit about him, and I will not care at all.
See, and that's
I vote
how
on policies. Yeah. And if somebody but it's identity. It's people's identity is so wrapped up to things. It's somebody how could you? I'm I always tell church leaders this. Trump is the worst human being ever, and they just immediately, because they're thinking this is a guy that thinks that. It's gay marriage is okay. This is they immediately peg me as this super liberal, and I go, I go, but yeah, I voted for him twice. And then they're like,
Yeah.
what? I'm like, but he's the worst human ever. I'm like, what? I'm like, and it's so this thing of
And
like,
they can't disassociate.
yeah, they can't get that. It's like, yeah, he is a terrible human. That is a fact. We have all the data and evidence we need to prove that. Like he's been around, he's been a celebrity for 50 years. Like we have all the shit to prove what an awful human he is. But guess what? I vote on policy. And I thought he was better.
That was
than
the best thing I heard, because when the election came around again, and my grandma's posting pictures on Facebook of Jesus holding Trump, he's the chosen one, and Jesus, is American Jesus, so he's got like an AK on his back and he's white. Oh my gosh! The best thing I heard was a guy who basically told me, he's like, yeah, like the same thing. Like, I know he's an awful human. I don't think he is representative of Christianity to any extent. I agree with his policies. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? I could respect that, like.
Yeah. There's just this weird, because it's so easy to be like something I've really matured in is be like, oh, how could you be a Christian and do this? Like that's the most immature thing ever. And I've grown out of it.
Yeah.
But I think the vast majority of people still haven't. And that's what's really sad. Cause it's like, I do struggle with the idea of like, okay, how can you be like a Christian and like vote for the party that is always pro-choice? Because it's like, as a Christian, shouldn't we vote on like what are the Christian things here, right? Which are like we believe that like babies were like knitted together in your mother's womb, and there was a plan for their life, and that like you're just killing God's plan for a life, right? And like, so I was like, oh, and then it's like, and that's like, oh, single issue voter, and there's all these things,
exactly.
And it's like, so I just learned to like, okay, everybody's at a different journey. This is where I'm at. This is my conclusion. I can give a very solid argument of why, like, God doesn't want you to murder babies. I think that's.
I'd have to hear that one. I
don't know. And I don't know. We all just have like our own shortcomings, and just like I don't know, like this sense of just like realizing that, like, wow, I'm an idiot and I'm broken. I need a bunch of help, and I just like I think that's like what the generation just continues to lose and lose and lose.
Yeah, and I think it's in part. If you'll notice, because it's treated, so since we're talking about the issue of like abortion, right? It's treated as almost this like binary. You're either pro-choice, and if you're not pro-choice, then you don't believe that women have like this and the ability to do that, and there's no freedom, and you're misogynistic, and then take it down. I'm pro-life, and if you're not pro-life, then you agree that you want to just murder babies all the time, whatever. And the reality is, it's like you said, everyone's on their own journey, and it's a very complex issue that is not black and white by any stretch.
For sure. What was I going to say? I feel like I had Shoreline in my head, and then I wanted to transition to something. All right, what's next on the list? I'll think of it eventually.
Okay. Let's see. Somebody told this to me. They said you should talk about Christians and tattoos. There's literally nothing to talk about. Like, you can get a tattoo if you want. Like,
how many do you got? I see you got a few.
I got this one and this one.
All right. This one is because you're a very good developer. Obviously, you got the brackets, but you write your code in between. Very good. And then
I regret not doing computer science.
And that is
it's for Romans 1:16. Camera shot. This is a symbol that some of the Christian rappers that I really looked up to growing up used for kind of their like concerts, and this was their like
DC Talk. Are you a DC Talk guy?
No, I'm talking like Lecrae, Andy Mineo. Yeah.
Did you remember DC Talk?
I don't know who that is.
You don't?
DC Talk is?
They're like the first like Christian rock rap band.
Really?
Like rock band that's like cool.
I should know who that is then.
Yeah, you should really know who DC Talk is. Like Toby Mac, you know who that is?
Yeah.
Like he was one, I think one of the guys in DC Talk. I think it was like him and another guy. Can you verify that real quick?
DC Talk, but yeah. This was one of those, and my dad got this because he always told me, whatever you get.
Dad got a tattoo.
Whatever you get, I'm going to get the same thing. It was meant to deter me from getting a tattoo. Like, how could you tattoo your father? But I was like, this is what I'm getting. And he got it on his wrist.
Yeah. And so is he also a developer for that one?
No, so he's not a code developer. This comes from, I worked at Cook camps.
CSS3? Okay.
In Hello World. In Branson. So I had a little Branson taste, but this was derivative from like empty arrow pointing away from me. And we had this prayer we would pray, and we'd be like exhaling. And it's like, Lord, forgive me for, my flesh and like my sinful nature. Like, we're broken. And then this is filled. And then it's like, Lord, fill me with, your spirit.
You're such a church dad. You're such a church dad.
And here's the worst part.
A church dad. No wonder you come up with these memes so easily.
Here's the worst part. Is I fully, like, I prayed that, and it was like honestly so freeing to like talk to the Lord like that. The fact that I got it on my bicep. You know what I'm saying?
No wonder you married a 95-pound 5 foot tall cheerleader.
It's not
I
lost
would
on
have paired
me.
y'all together. So I could have paired that together in my sleep.
It's not lost on me that because people are like the main thing. Where did you get your inspiration? I'm like, bro, I was a douche in college. I still kind of am. Like, what do you mean? Where did I get it? And so, yeah. Oh man, I need to make a TikTok about that.
Say like DC Talk.
Oh, yeah.
the Christian rap and rock trio formed at Liberty University. Of course it was. Yeah, and Toby Mac was in it. See,
Right after he got engaged at Liberty University. Baby, I'm starting a rap group. You want to get married? That's a good one.
We can tour around in my van.
We'll live out of my van.
We can go to all the churches around the U.S. of A.
We can go to is Liberty in Tennessee?
No, they did have locations, but it says in Liberty in Virginia, in Lynchburg, Virginia.
I'm sold that I could go to Lynchburg, I guess, Virginia, go to Liberty, and just make a living like doing appearances there. Like 90% of my followers are from Liberty. I just make fun of Liberty. Everyone's like, I go there.
Right. So I'm pretty good at like learning how to make money. So you should launch a Liberty merch collection with you.
Or like a Christian university in general.
Yeah, and I'm going to take 10%, but I'll help you get it all done.
Well, a wise man told me I should have negotiated my engagement ring price. What if we did 5%?
20%.
4%.
20%.
We're not going to make the shirts now, Nate Dogg. We need to make them. I'll meet you back. How about?
Here's this. I own the printing press. I own the web design company. I own the advertising company. So you can launch it yourself and sell 100 of them, or you can launch it with me and sell 10,000. 10,000,
okay.
So do you want 80% of 10,000, or do you want 100%?
I don't like that you're big dogging me.
200.
You're big dogging me right now.
I'm just asking questions.
Do you actually own a printing company?
I'm just asking questions.
Do you actually like own all that? Because
I'm just asking questions.
Nathan, of course, I would like to sell 10,000 prints of a shirt.
So 20%'s our deal?
No, don't put your hand away.
Is 20% our deal?
Look at him. Everyone's watching you big dog me right now. I feel like
you're 20% our deal.
You're a helpless landlord. Now I feel you're going to pull some law on me here in a second.
I'm feeling generous today. I want to fund it all too, so nothing comes out of pocket. You just get the profits. Yeah.
Oh.
So
you're a generous guy.
Yeah. And I'm doing a Bob Ross move. You know, taking 20% of the whole company, so everything you ever produce, music, content. But, you know, you can't have both.
Wait, why is he taking it? Where's the whole company?
It's a 360
You're like buying my rights.
It's a 360 deal, yeah.
Baby trees. No, we could. I would love to do that because I tried merch one time and it went horribly.
Yeah,
it's so bad because we tried this guy.
You got to do a meme. Like it's got to be a meme that everybody loves. Like you got to look at your most popular TikTok, what is making fun of. Then have a shirt that makes fun of that too.
Yeah.
And then that's your launch.
I mean, but that's literally a genius idea. We could just do like the Liberty, Dallas Baptist, and God told me you're my wife, or Ring by Spring.
Yeah, it should say like, God told me you're my wife.
God told me you're my wife.
At Liberty University.
It'd be genius. Put the Liberty logo right there. Boom.
Or, I mean, that's the thing is like do at every Christian university. So like, God told me you're a wife at blah, blah, blah universities.
Dallas Baptist.
Yeah.
Liberty.
We figured it out. We figured it out.
Okay.
All right. Next on the line. What were we talking about? What was even this?
Oh, Christians and tattoos. It's fine. As long as it's not like a Satan tattoo. Like, who cares?
My thing is, it's just this, like the fact that people can equate it to like knowing God is the most ridiculous thing ever.
And it's like some verse out of Leviticus.
All I equate it to is people making poor life decisions, like, or people not being creative. Like, it's like when you see somebody with a dumb tattoo, you're like, oh, you got a dumb tattoo.
It's just kind of
nothing is me is like, oh, I'm probably gonna burn in hell for eternity. Because like, here's the deal: if our God that we worship sends people to hell for the rest of their lives because they got a tattoo thinking they were glorifying Jesus with it, it's probably not the God I even want to follow, if I'm just being honest.
It doesn't line up with his character at all. Like, hey, buddy, I know you were trying to glorify me, but actually, go burn, big guy, because you got a tattoo. Like, oh my gosh. So that was one which my grandmother would be upset with me for saying that. Sorry, Mimi. You know, and my mom too. They were upset with me for getting.
Wait, then your dad got it?
But then my dad got it. Yeah.
Are your parents married?
Oh yeah.
And your mom, so your mom was upset at you.
Mm-hmm. She went over
but
to
then let your dad get it.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I mean,
That's wild boy.
Mom runs the house, but when Dad said on something, sometimes it just happens. So Pops got tatted.
Yeah, I remember relationships from 30 years ago.
We were talking about that. Okay, this is interesting. Relationships have changed so much, and I don't even know if we could verify this, but like there was a time when women couldn't have bank accounts.
Amen.
And
yeah,
so,
I agree.
Hey, we need to go back to that time. Yeah, Gummit, what are we doing? But like, and so
is that an Alex Jones impression there? I don't know what it was.
That's my super hardcore. I miss them days when the women, but they were marrying almost out of like necessity, right? It's like I literally have to have like a financial, whatever. And so now, fast forward, we're here, and it's like.
Let me tell you, it sucks when you're an income earner like myself, because I would have been able to pull any chick I want.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I mean, dude,
you want a house, baby?
Ladies, pull it up and like literally, I can give you a family and financial stability. Like, oh my God, I love Nathan. But now it's like, yeah, women can like make money. Like Sydney makes more money than me, and so it's like. We don't need you. And so it's kind of unique how like dynamics, and I'm not saying this is my parents by any stretch, because my dad's a FedEx man, my mom's a teacher. We were just hanging out, but you take it now and it's like, I will literally, I guess from a woman's perspective, I'll marry you if you can like communicate well, like you possess traits, like, and if not, like I'm fine by myself.
Yeah.
Like, I can just work.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was like really interesting because obviously as like a high performing individual, I'm attracted to other high performing individuals, but like my end goal was like, I want to get married. I want to start a family. I want you to be full time with the family.
Yeah.
And then like, I'm ultimately going to run for president in 2052 and win. So like everything we're doing is around like what I'm trying to do, which is like run for president. So like, it is like super sacrificial that like we're doing everything to get behind me to get things done. And so you got to find like a highly ambitious person that's like successful, that's saying, cool, I'm going to throw all this away or move all this to the side to like put it all in our family unit. Like I don't want to like all myself is not good, but our family unit. And there's obviously responsibilities that I have of that family unit too.
Of course.
And so it's a very, because most like, I would go out with somebody that, was like a multi-million-dollar CEO, like a woman CEO, which is rare and successful, all these things. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. But then like what you wanted.
Yeah. She's like, I'm not starting a family. I'm not getting pregnant. And I'm definitely not stepping away from my career ever.
Yeah.
Like you can be my first, like I'm going to run, it's like that
like
kind
I'll
of thing.
run for president. We'll run against each other. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what my wife said that the other day. I was like, I'm going to run a president against Joe. I was like, I'll dominate.
Well, I'll hear the stances before I dedicate my votes. My vote can be bought.
Yeah. So, Good. Okay. What's next on the list?
So I only have one more because we've covered a couple of things I wrote down. Pretty good. Do you know what Enneagrams are?
Yeah.
Dude,
Any excuse to not do something at the church is...
I'm a 7.
Yeah, I'm just too spontaneous to put things on my calendar because I'm a 7.
And it's funny because I feel as though Christians especially...
Which wing are you? Are you a 7?
I'm 7 wing 6, so that means I'm kind of quirky, but my calendar, people love me. It's basically a way to like, people love me. But then it's like astrology. Like, it's a Venus is in retrograde.
Yeah, it's the Christian astrology.
And Christians
you can't believe in astrology. Yeah, but the Enneagram.
I'm sorry I punched you in the face, Nathan. I'm a 3. I'm just so competitive. It's an excuse. It's ridiculous, dude. Like I can't stand people that like write off things because, I'm a 4 wing 3, or we wouldn't get along because you're a 9 and I'm a 1. Ridiculous.
My favorite is like the highly manipulative guy or girl, and nobody else sees it. Did you ever experience that?
Oh yeah.
So there was this one girl, highly manipulative and like very, very intelligent, and I could see it from like day one. And we would like kind of prank each other. We did little pranks with each other.
Oh, how cute.
And she took a prank a little too far. Now, I'm not going to say that I maybe had this end goal of getting her fired, and I possibly was baiting her till she went too far.
You wouldn't say that.
I would never say that because that is psychopathic to be like, oh, wait, I don't like you. I'm going to get you fired with a 2-year plan to do pranks back and forth until you take it too far because I know you're insane and will, and then get you fired.
You would never do that.
But anyway, one day on our back and forth pranks, it's all about finding the right opportunity. You know,
of course.
It's all about, life's about opportunities, you know? So she listed my dog on Craigslist. And
That's kind of funny.
it was like my phone number and everything, and I was getting like blown up with emails of my dog that was for sale. And I remember thinking, I don't really care about pets. I like my dog, whatever.
Yeah.
But a lot of people really, really, really care about pets. So maybe in this moment, I really care about pets, and I'll go very hard about how just ridiculously over the top this was. So I go ham at her. Her thing is like, look, it was me and so-and-so and so-and-so. So it wasn't just me.
Yeah.
Like just anything to not take responsibility. And so anyway, I'm like, do all my moves, and I'm like trying to meet with a pastor, and
You're like crying.
and I'm like trying to meet with so a pastor is like, hey, this is between y'all. I'm not going to come to that meeting, whatever. Well, then I go to the meeting, he's there, and he's like, well, she asked me to go. And so then I'm like, oh, so if I ask you to go, you're not going to go, but if she asks you, you'll go, right? Like, again, manipulative, like, to the T. And, like, she had this line. This is what I love about crazy people. And I was like, how does nobody realize this person's crazy? She goes, I will take up to 50% responsibility. And I'm sorry for the 50% I contributed.
I'm sorry.
Is that the most ludicrous line ever?
Yes.
But she definitely wore the pants in like all relationships. And so she ended up getting engaged. She asked a guy to, and you know, she found a good guy to,
she asked him.
Well, that's the rumor I started that everybody to this day believes. So it's really good. And honestly, I actually think I could seriously be right.
Yeah.
But she ended up the most weak, meek, kind, little confused man ever.
Poor
just
guy.
Right under her.
Just bewildered.
Right under her
kinda,
finger.
Like lights are on, nobody's home. And she's like, that's the one.
I mean, like a smart guy, but like not an attractive one. And, you know, so it's just this weird, it's this opportunity to have a wife, right? Like, I think he's like a really good guy, and he's just right under.
And dude, that's just it. I'm assuming he was in the church.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Probably kind of pushed him a little like, hey, buddy, when are you going to propose to, you know, so-and-so? Instead of taking time to maybe see, is she a little manipulative? Or, nah, yeah, I should definitely just go ahead and enter a lifelong commitment with her.
Are her stories, like, true? Like, because she claimed to be, like, an entrepreneur and then go into ministry. And, like, I just don't meet a lot of entrepreneurs that are real entrepreneurs. I meet a lot of fake entrepreneurs. So I decided, let me just dive into this a little bit. I'm an entrepreneur, too. That's so cool. Tell me about your business. So you sold it? Oh, you didn't sell it. You just shut it down? Oh, was it? Oh, so you shut down like a thrive. Why didn't you sell it if it was like a thriving business? And then, this other business. I mean, you're running 2 businesses. Do you have employees? Oh, it's just you. So you're kind of like a freelancer. Okay.
She's just like,
because you know when people do the thing of like, I was having threesomes. I was driving Porsches. I was parking in handicap spaces. I was cussing at my mother. And then I gave it all up for Jesus.
I gave it all up. Those handicap spaces were.
Now I'm here telling the story of the gospel because I love God. That changed my life.
Yeah.
Like sometimes those are true stories and it's amazing. It's awesome. And I want to like totally not make fun of those, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes you're like, look, you had a Boxer. You know, you had a $35,000 Porsche. And like the threesome was like they were both drunk. And like... like
literally
it was an accident like she walked in the wrong room. And like it's like this thing of like she wanted to give this, like some people want to give this perspective that they were just this willing and dealing driving a Rolls Royce Bentley door slamming boss that just gave their life to Jesus and changed everything. And it's like the truth is that like God never called you to do business, and you never did well in it. And you did find your calling, which is in ministry. And you want to not seem like a ministry guy. You want to seem like kind of relatable or seem like that you had a life outside of the world. So you like kind of exaggerate everything. But the problem is people that aren't complete idiots like me see right through it.
You're like, well, because it's literally like you could. I mean, what were we talking about literally earlier? Like you want to get rich, start a church type deal. Like people will believe just about anything. It's like, I was this and that, and now I'm here. And everyone like I'm eating it up. And maybe
I know what I wanted to talk
gospel.
about.
Oh, what's up?
Preachers and sneakers.
I love preachers and sneakers.
Do you know the guy? He's here in Dallas.
Yeah, I knew he was here in Dallas. I've never met him before. I really want to meet him.
So he's at Watermark, or at least was.
Okay.
Might still be there. I don't know. Hates me, I guess. I don't know. Never. I don't know if somebody's like an idiot or if they hate me, right? Like it's like there's only two options I'm going to give.
Fair enough.
So this is like what we've emailed him like 100 times to come on the podcast. And we even wrote like, hey, we'll buy, when your book comes out, we'll buy however many, like how many copies, I think we wrote it was like, hey, how many copies do we have to buy for you to come on the podcast? Obviously you're not a big time author or anything. Like this is a good opportunity.
Yeah.
So his baby was born almost the exact same time mine was. So his wife was pregnant. Mm-hmm. He's a Marine. We've had a bunch of Marines on the podcast. I do a lot with like in the veteran world. He went to the same university as my wife. Like we had like 50 things in common.
Yeah.
And I thought Preachers and Seekers was like the greatest thing ever. Like
Isn't it? Yeah.
So I was like, I gotta have this guy on, whatever. And like never once has responded to one email we've sent him, but we get notifications that he's opened them all. So it's like,
really?
So whatever. He then, me, I'm like, I'm persistent. That's okay. I get it. Like, why would you come on this? Like not everybody's as dumb as you. So I get it, So at the end of his newsletter, because I'm subscribed, just in case, again, opportunities, looking for opportunities. So at the end of his newsletter, he's like, hey, if you're interested in advertising on this newsletter, hit me up. Like, or no, if you're interested, click this button.
Yeah.
So I click this button, it opens a new email with a pre-filled out subject line that says like, I'm interested in advertising with Preachers and Sneakers.
Yeah.
So I write, hey there, like, big fan of the account. I run a marketing agency. I think we have several things we could place. Like how big is the list? What would it cost? Everything else. Now, look, my actual plan was be like, all right, the first thing I want to promote is actually my own podcast.
We would love to have you come on.
And if you want to, like, because again, I'm determined to like, get this guy on.
Yeah.
So I like, and he writes back, I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, I write, oh, well, at the bottom of your newsletter, it says click here if you're interested in advertising. So I clicked here, and then I wrote that email. And then he didn't respond, and then I followed up, and he didn't respond.
Huh.
And I guess, he's got to know my name by now. So I'm guessing he's like, he realized, like, oh, this is the guy that's been trying to get me a podcast, and Nora or whatever.
Oh, yeah, probably.
But I'm just like, I do own a legit company, and like, what, like at least, so I'm always disappointed in that. But dude, talk about, like, I've tried so hard to justify some of these things of like, okay, maybe he thinks that the only way he's going to get a certain type of people to his church is that if he dresses like, and I'm like, but that's the most ridiculous thing ever. Why would somebody ever go to a church because of the way the pastor dressed?
Pastors are becoming celebrities. Celebrity. And like you saw what happened with Carl Lentz. I think it was Hillsong pastor, ended up like coming out that he'd been cheating on his wife. He's like hanging around all these celebrities. He's larger than life himself. And
giant stupid glasses on.
And just like, and they're probably like $2,000 or
at least
shoes, and it's ridiculous. And it's also hard because it's kind of like asking, where does the line for capitalism stop and it becomes too far? Because I don't believe just because someone's a pastor, hey, you can't have shoes, buddy. Preach barefoot. Like but then it's also like, why are you wearing the new Yeezys?
Yeah, well, it was a gift, right? And it's like, here's the deal. I don't want to, if I was a pastor, I would never want to do anything that causes people to question where money goes or question what I care about on earth. So when I see pastors like decked out and like Dolce and Gabbana and like all this crazy stuff, I question, well, what do you actually care about?
It's borderline like kind of idolatry. It's like
when I buy some of the things I buy, I go, do you really love Jesus, Nathan? I mean, this is the thoughts I have to myself. And that's like what I'm very clear about. Like when I'm criticizing people, I'm also like criticizing myself. Like, do I really, but if you're the leader of a church, it's kind of like, it should be a given. Like you can't really do this stuff. And now it's just kind of becoming a thing. Like, oh, I do this thing. And, you know, so like my pastor's my friend is like kind of the weird thing. And it's like, this isn't really how it's designed. Like your pastor is designed to like be your shepherd. And like a shepherd isn't like, sometimes he's got to like beat a sheep to like get the sheep, like to get his head straight. Right. There's always a time for tough love and then for grace. And like, you know, I mean, it's a hard line to walk, but it's like, I just don't see, I always look at things as benefits of doing something. So I know the benefit of cussing is that in certain groups, people can feel more comfortable around me. Mm-hmm. Downside, I could highly offend somebody. People think I'm like illiterate because I cuss a lot. Like you can, like, so I look at these like, okay, probably not worth it. I mean, like occasionally, but I'm not like dropping the F word every other word. Yeah. And so we know, okay, what is the upside of wearing a $3,000 outfit today at church? I look cool on Instagram. All right, nothing to do with Jesus.
Yeah.
People at the church compliment me more, or my, you know, like it's like what is what is the downside? Okay, people think I'm spending church dollars on this.
Big downside. Pretty big downside.
People on Instagram are going to think I'm not about the gospel and Jesus. I'm about how cool I am and about my personal brand. Mm-hmm. And that it's not about building God's brand, it's about building my brand. And maybe I'll make a deal with God where we build our brands together. And so on and so forth. Like the downsides are just so many of them that you just have to be ignoring them and just kind of get locked in your own world.
And it goes back to like, there's almost no way to like hold accountability or really get them out of that world because they're like celebrities now, like just bigger than life. And my buddy Caleb that I told you, he's out in Seattle. They had like home church or whatever. I can't remember the pastor's name, but he started it in Seattle and it was like flourishing and it was great. But then all of a sudden, Justin Bieber kind of came onto the scene and like celebrities like Russell Wilson and Sierra. And then all of a sudden, Caleb said, you see this shift of, well, we love you guys, but now we're going to have our pastor like focus on like Bieber and, you know, Sierra and Russell Wilson.
So he's interviewed at the end of the Preachers and Sneakers book, the audio book.
No way.
He interviews that preacher.
It might be Rich Wilkerson.
Yeah.
No way.
And he makes Rich Wilkerson has the most cop-out answer ever to something, which was hilarious. He's like, okay, when I hear like the song Yummy by Justin Bieber, I'm like, and you're saying this guy is like fully committed to Christ and everything he does is about Christ now. Like I have to wonder. And he's like, that song is about like biblical marriage and biblical sex and like having sex with your wife. and it's like, he wrote that about Haley. And I'm like, oh, great cop out. I mean, great cop out.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I get it, but it's like, doesn't mean you make a song about. I need to go get that book. I guess I need to read that. That's insane.
So it's funny. I mean, there's like I don't know if he is liberal. I wouldn't know. But it seems to be like I watched the Bill comment like there's this like pastor doesn't believe in like the Trinity that I've seen comment on like some of his posts that like there's a pastor that is like doesn't believe in hell that comments on some of his posts. There's a pastor that and I'm sure there's pastors all the other side too. I've just noticed these one. And there's a guy who's like you know, it's like a gay pastor and he's like so proud that he's gay. Like his identity is that he's gay and a pastor, not that he's just a pastor. So I see these people comment. I'm like, I wonder, you know.
It's been, I actually have a TikTok in the hopper about this because it is so easy.
In the hopper.
I'm ready to go. I've got it loaded up because I'm sick of seeing pastor on, like I'm a pastor on TikTok. Like I could have changed my name. I could have been Josh Benson, the pastor, instead of Josh Benson. So easily. People, oh, you're a pastor. No. And I could have said whatever I feel the gospel is to me, and this is what I think it is. That doesn't mean it's the truth. It's just what I think. And so I see people like posting nonsense. Like there's one guy, I think it's pastor like Brandon Watson or something like that. Pastor. Absolute, like the most distorted, twisted gospel. Like you can do whatever you want, and it's whatever your heart, you know.
I know.
It's horrible. And people like believe it. People are like, yeah, like this is Christianity.
That's what they want to hear.
That's what they want to hear. It's like, oh yeah, like this props me up and it makes me feel great.
Like when I got wasted at that bar and went home with a guy who I don't know.
Like woke Jesus doesn't care.
Dude, woke Jesus is my favorite Instagram account.
Yeah.
Do you follow it?
No, but I follow Nathan Finocchio.
Is that the guy who runs it?
He either runs it or he pulls a lot from it, but he's big on woke Jesus. And like, I just, whatever. And the reality is Jesus designed everything the way that he did. God designed everything the way that he did because that's the best way to experience everything. That gives us the most life. That gives us the most, I guess, developed relationship with him. And so the truth doesn't care about how woke you are. Like, that's just the truth. So when people are like, I feel so broken, but also I watch porn for 10 hours a day, but it's what I want to do. It's like, there's a reason you shouldn't be doing that,
My favorite woke Jesus.
Yeah.
They have a 10-part image, and it's like, John, do you love me? Yes, Lord, I love you. Tell all your unvaccinated friends to get vaccinated. And it's like, John, do you love me? Yes, Lord, I love you. Tell me which of your friends are not vaccinated. It just goes on and on and on and on. John, you have your friends get the booster shot. It just goes on and on and on.
Now, is woke Jesus encouraging people to get the mark of the beast? Is that what I'm hearing?
Both sides are so good.
My grandma is going to be upset if she hears that.
Well, the good news is it's at like the 2 hour and 25-minute mark, so she's probably not, well, actually, that's a problem.
She's retired. Yeah. She's retired. She's
I was like, oh, wait.
Dude, retirement seems kind of awful if you think about it.
I just love this idea of like retiring where it's like, I don't think that's biblical at all. Like, for some reason, we like all about, like, that's a very American non-biblical thing.
But Nathan, don't you get it? Jesus only cares about America.
So I'm going to give my final hot take.
Oh, I'm all ears.
Hot take.
Okay.
I'm going to say this in a dramatic way.
Okay.
Because I'm just being that way.
Yeah.
Most parents of high school students at a church want their kids to throw away their lives and turn their back to Jesus. Because if they didn't want that, then they wouldn't encourage them to go to universities where the numbers show you that 75% of all kids that attend a university will turn their back on Jesus. And therefore, they wouldn't celebrate seniors going to college and even announce what college they go to on a Sunday. Did you go to church that did that?
We did, yes.
Yeah. How crazy is that? Wait, you have an institution that has raised their price every year for 30 years straight.
Which is wild in itself.
They market themselves as an educational institute, but when you challenge an educational institute, they go, what's about the experience? So it's bullshit.
Yeah.
And all the numbers show that if you're a Christian going into that, you're not going to be a Christian leaving it 75% of the time.
Interesting.
And yet we're like, oh, Johnny, who still writes dicks in the bathroom at church. Like Johnny, who's the maturity level of a 13-year-old. We're like celebrating that he's going to
be on his
University of Arizona. Like the most party school
Nothing
ever.
good happens at Arizona or Arizona State.
Yeah, and so it's like one of those things of like you're at the University of Arizona State, and it's like, why are we doing this? Because what we're doing is we're shaming the kids that say, hey, I'm going to take a year off. We're shaming the parents that say, hey, we don't think you should go into debt yet because you're not, like, you don't know.
Yeah.
And what they're really saying is we don't think you're mature enough. Like, you need to be solid enough of a parent to know that my kid is not mature enough to handle the pressures of college.
Yeah.
Or if your kid struggles with depression, my kid is not mentally stable enough to handle the pressure of college. Like, there's got to be, or hey, my kid wants to be rich, so he is going to be a plumber. And so there's plumbing, like he can go to plumbing school for a year. We'll come out making $80,000 out of the school.
Yeah, I agree.
And
with
it's
that.
a free, and so it's like, but the thing is, we don't celebrate that. We celebrate, oh, so-and-so is going to University of Tennessee where his dad went.
Yeah. Now, I agree with you to an extent. So I definitely agree. Like, if I could go back and do it again, I don't know if I would have went to Stephen F. Austin. Like, I don't know. I went because I wanted to play baseball and a lot of things because my dad didn't graduate from college. So I was like, I need to be the man that graduates from college in our family.
Society told you that, right?
A little bit of family pressure, societal pressures for sure. Trade school, like in hindsight, like that's a great opportunity for a ton of people that I probably went to college to that had no business getting like a
and dude
2.3
happiness levels of working with your hands. Because that's how we were designed. We weren't designed to type on computers all day. I know this because this is what I do for a living. I type on computers.
That's what I do too. Yeah.
And it's like when I go do anything with my hands, hit a golf ball in a country club.
Pure 9-iron about 150 out.
Yeah, I used to be that weak. So when I hit my 9-iron 170, when I pull up to the country club in my Bentley and I feel something physical in my hand, I think this is what we're designing.
I'm a man.
No, but I really don't think we're designed to look at computer screens for 12 hours a day. And so when you like do stuff like weld or like do real work, even like painting, I'm not saying you want to be a painter and all these, but I'm saying when you do real work, like it is satisfying, it feels good. And there is something, if you like a strong relationship with God, being like, being busy, working hard, being tired is like a good thing because you don't have time to do like the reason that so many rich people cheat on their wives because their life gets too easy.
Honestly. Oh yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, there's nothing to do. It's like, oh, like
I've already,
I'm too busy. Like I don't have anything to do. So if this person hits on me, but if somebody hit on me today, like somebody slid in my DMs because they're like, hey, I'm a slut. If somebody slid in my DMs, I'd be like, cool. I might say, oh, thank you. They're like, oh, I love that suit. I would probably say something like, oh, thanks. And then they're like, oh, like I don't know how conversations go, but whatever. Come to my house. I don't know. I'd be like, yeah, I'm too busy, or I'm too busy to like think of anything to go down a rabbit. Like my only goal is like I'm trying to like support my family, like do dope shit, like what, like I'm just like focused on like I just have end goals of what I'm trying to do. But if you're like just kind of chilling, it's like I think you're really susceptible to that stuff.
I would agree. And we were talking about this, me and my buddy today, is kind of society's now even shifting towards, like I was when I was doing my education, I spent a lot of time in the classroom. Kids, you ask, what do you want to be when you get older? I want to be an influencer, be a YouTuber.
No, don't tell me you heard that.
Heard a lot, a lot. And so you kind of take that, and so now all of a sudden we're shifting towards these like incomes or roles in society where it's like, you're not a productive member of society at all. And it's kind of like, I feel called to be a YouTuber. Like, no, you don't. But to kind of hit on what you said, yeah, I feel as though God values like someone that does their craft and does it well. Like what's the Martin Luther quote? Like, someone should know that your business is owned by a Christian, not because, or someone should know that a shoe business is owned by a Christian, not because you put small crosses on the soles of the shoes, but because of the art of the craftsmanship of how good it is. And so it's kind of like, you should, whatever you do, you should do it well. And people will be like able to respect that. But even like you said, you're a productive member of society and you're not like idle and just sitting around susceptible to
Isn't
like
it
whatever.
crazy that nobody knows like the actual Martin Luther story?
Of the 95 Theses?
Like almost everything people say is like a lie, is not true.
What actually happened?
Well, I mean, a good example is like it was 2 years before anybody noticed the theses that he posted. Yeah. And, like he like nailed it to the front of that was like the bulletin area. And that's like what you did when you had an announcement. Like there's all these things that we hype up about
right
this.
Next to John's lawn care business.
Yeah.
So, hey,
seriously.
I don't like this.
And he did it as it was supposed to be a local thing only, and he wanted to call a debate around it, and he wanted to be proven wrong. It wasn't even like, it was like his first draft. Like he actually later edited it. And he what happened was they like saw it as dangerous, and like he was the first person to ever go viral. Did you know that?
Makes sense.
So the Gutenberg press or whatever came out right when he posted that, or like a year before, and so his writing started like just because the printing press existed for the first time ever, so they started just to spread like crazy.
Wow.
And then it was when the church decided to like, oh, we don't like this guy, we're gonna like bring him into court. That's when things went. That's when they made it go viral. You know, like your haters made you successful. Mm-hmm. Literally, like all his haters are what made everybody want to read it more.
And now there's literally a denomination, Lutheran. Look at it. And he was just like, oh, this is kind of a good idea. Maybe the church will.
Yeah, and he's a very, he's just a very weird guy in the sense of, I mean that in a good way, but like, he was very, very odd. Like he took following Jesus so closely. Like, I mean, like he took everything so seriously. And anyway, just very, I mean, he hid out in like a castle for like, several years after he's wanted dead. Like he escaped and then like hid out and nobody knew he was there. So he didn't go on walks, and he would write like Skeletine is, the guy's name was in there. Skeletine was like one of his best friends. He's got all these letters between him. Anyway, just very interesting. Most of the quotes you've ever heard of him, he didn't say. So.
Good old Luther.
And then, Martin Luther King Jr., his father heard the story of Martin Luther and changed his name to Martin Luther.
No way.
And then he changed his son's name when he was 5 years old to Martin Luther King Jr.
Man.
So Martin Luther King Jr. was not born Martin Luther King.
I mean, imagine your pop switching your name up. Like you think you know your name. He's like, hey, buddy. Hey, Sebastian, come here. You're going to be Nathan now.
Yeah.
Like, you sure?
That's another thing that's crazy is like everybody has this like Martin Luther King is like the greatest. Like everybody only talks about like his like how great he was, right? Nobody talks about like that he like cheated on his wife all the time.
Did he really?
Yeah, you didn't know this.
I know that.
Yeah. Now, how they found this out is the CIA illegally bugged his rooms.
Well, one thing.
So,
one thing that kills me is amidst like all the movements that we have, right? It's very like Martin Luther King Jr. is like a very celebrated guy, right? It's kind of funny because it's like celebrated here, but like you take it back to when he was alive, like everyone hated him. Yeah. And so then there's like this whole concept of, and this is more so my extremely far right friends. They're like, oh man, I love like Martin Luther King Jr., but I hate like everything, like really that he kind of stood for, to be honest. And so it's like this nuts thing of like, oh, you would have been in the group that hated him. Like, so don't act like all of a sudden like, oh man, I loved it like that, but no, I hate this and that.
yeah.
Like,
Well, I mean, the difference is like this is what I've tried to explain. Like the difference between like Martin Luther King Jr.'s movement and BLM is that like BLM is like an atheist movement. There's no like it's not like Martin Luther King met in churches before they went on marches. Mm-hmm. It was funded by church. It was founded by the church. It was around the church. It was a Christian movement. Now he also had some really weird beliefs. Like I don't know if he fully believed in the Trinity. I mean, there's like things that like nobody wants to discuss, but like those are the big differences when people like highlight these things.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course it's like over time, just given the society that we're in, it's kind of unique because yeah, you're absolutely right. Like it was in churches and stuff, but it's kind of unique how it's like all very praised. Like I love Martin Luther King, but then it's like these things that in society that we like push for that honestly Martin Luther King would have more than likely agreed with. It's like I don't like those. Like I don't really like those. You're like. You just say that because you read about
like
it in
the things that he wouldn't be about. We don't want to like if you're on the other side, you're like, oh, I don't talk about these.
More than likely, yeah. Which is also hard to speculate. It's like, what would Martin Luther King Jr. like today? You know,
yeah,
it's hard.
What's next for you? What are you working on? You're gonna launch your own podcast. You're gonna.
I would love that.
Yeah. What's it gonna be about?
Taking notes. Just whatever my TikToks are about, whatever we're feeling. Me and my fiance, we feel like we have good conversations, and we're like any person ever sitting around and be like, we should start a podcast because there's not enough of those.
Yeah.
So that'd be sick to start a podcast.
Well, I was a guy that owns 20% of both y'all's brands now that you're married. I don't own now, but when you're married, I will, of course. Okay. You know, I'm for it. Yeah. Anything to push merch.
Push merch. You know, we're launching a merch line now. Liberty University, Dallas Baptist. You guys stay locked in there.
Well, we don't want to give them any royalties, so obviously we're going to use anything but them, you know. Yeah. Or the best move, this is my favorite move, I'm a little more controversial than you.
Yeah.
Do it illegally and then have them sue us and then make a bunch of TikToks about how they're suing us because of the little hoodies we made.
That's kind of smart.
And then it's like you're like, hey, I'm just like Josh Benson. I work like a 9 to 5. Like I just had this idea for a shirt line. I didn't know any better.
I was just being fun.
Because like what they don't know is secretly behind you pulling all the levers is me at my computer just going,
looking up the laws. Yeah. Well, according to Texas State by law. Yeah.
What a segue. What a way to tie it in. How do people connect with you if they don't know? I mean, it will be linked in the show notes and stuff.
Yeah. Josh Benson, the rapper on TikTok. Josh Benson 32 on Instagram.
And aren't you Church Memes on Instagram?
Church Chad Memes on Instagram. What now? It's Church Chad. We took the memes out. We're bigger than a meme page.
Yeah.
So it's Church Chad.
Wow.
But even then, I really enjoy it. So I guess like if you listen this far in the podcast, it's been fun hearing opposing sides, like opposing views, people being truthful. So like, yeah, like if you actually like connect or something, like say what's up and like if you agree, disagree, because that's been something that's been cool about this journey is like seeing a lot of perspectives outside of like the East Texas perspective. You can imagine, right? I've got folks like following from all over and they're like, actually, I feel this way. And here's a little bit about my background. And I think that's a big thing. And like seeing other perspectives and realizing like, oh, like Jesus died for this person too. And this is how they feel.